Welcome to the Green Light live show, Super Bowl reactions.
How we doing? Victory Monday. For some of us, at least. Definitely for Drake, who had a big week, massive, monumental.
Little Caesars! Little Caesars! Little Caesars!
I need that jacket.
Put it on.
Yeah, it's yours. Yours if you want to rock it.
Oh, I was going to say,
Yeah.
2X?
Yeah.
Yeah, Little Caesars.
Oh, that's
Pizza,
fresh.
pizza.
They're going to be happy. We had some Little Caesars last night. Welcome to the show. Guys, what do we think? We slept on it. What do we think? Let me ask you guys first.
I think the overtime saved the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl was very, very mid until the overtime.
You're right.
I disagree. But the overtime was the big story for me. And the lack of understanding, obviously the lack of coaching, I hate to say it, in a game where coaching seemed to be the big thing. The defensive staff having a master class, both offenses looking good at certain times and bad at certain times. But the overtime, you get there, and your Ivy League fullback captain is the first one to admit after the game that they didn't know the rules.
The guy from Harvard's like, yeah, I didn't get that memo, and we didn't talk about it.
And Chris Jones from Mississippi State
is like, hey, we're gonna go. We not only do that,
it.
we have a plan for the 2-point play if we get down there.
I give tremendous amount of credit to Jonathan Jones, the lead insider for CBS. He was like, in September, he was like, I'm writing this article. You should retweet it because I think it's going to be important.
About the overtime rules.
They changed the rules for Patrick Mahomes, and next thing you know, here we are in the Super Bowl, and right when the clock struck 0-0 at the end of that game, and they're going to overtime, I was, like everybody else, I was scrolling the X app, and I was like, Jonathan Jones just retweeted that article. It's important.
Yeah, I didn't have time to read the article.
But then they freaking received.
And it was crazy. I'll just say this, like, I'm going to say this and then we'll back up, but at the end of regulation in overtime, or at the end of overtime, I did not know the rule would carry that possession into the second quarter. Okay, and you can scoff at me, but the guy from Harvard on the Niners who was in the game didn't know either. And I do think that's a big deal. Not that it mattered at the end of the first overtime, but if these guys weren't briefed on new overtime rules, I wonder how much of a mastery of it Shanahan had.
What about the coach?
I mean,
basically blaming analytics.
Who?
Explain that.
He said that, was it Shanahan? They had said analytics or some sort, and I just think
in what situation?
For calling or kicking or receiving.
Electing to receive.
Oh yeah, electing to receive. Let me
want to arrest the defense. And
Well, he didn't say that. And here's my problem. Like if he'd have come out and said, "Hey, defense just got dog walking in 2 minutes. I didn't want him back out there." That to me would at least okay, I kind of get that.
my anxiety.
But he didn't say that. He gave a different reason. And here's the problem with receiving the ball in overtime. Remember when the Jets lost to the Giants in overtime?
Remind me.
Different overtime rule, or the Jets, the Giants won in overtime this year. The Jets elected to receive, and they had their third string quarter. No, it was the Giants. The Giants elected to receive. They lost that game in overtime. They had a third string quarterback in there, okay? This was maybe even Tommy Cutlets before he was Tommy Cutlets, and he was playing Jets defense. What do you think's going to happen? Well, you lose 10 yards, you punt the ball, it's short field, and now you're going to lose the game, right? And although the overtime rules are different in the Super Bowl, they're still the same rules in that if you punt the ball and Mahomes gets it and kicks a field goal, they're going to win the game.
It's 3-down territory versus 4-down territory.
And so you are setting yourself up possibly for a short field for Patrick Mahomes, and had McDuffie not held, you'd be looking at that, okay? And then the second thing is, I know some people think 4-down territory, and they think, oh, everybody's puckered up, they're tight. I don't think Patrick Mahomes is. I think Patrick Mahomes is thinking, I have an extra down.
Bonus.
I have a bonus down. And if you're on defense, I've been in those situations, the thought of, can we get these guys down? They need to average 2.5 yards a play. And so, one chunk, and all of a sudden the whole playbook opens up. You've got 3 downs now to waste on second and short. And on top of that, it's Mahomes with the ball possibly last. And so I don't like that at all. And now Shanahan's looking at it, and I think he's a fine coach, dude. I want to give him a lot of credit. I don't have one of my rings if it's not for him throwing the ball in that game, but that's what his reputation has become is 3 Super Bowls that he's been involved in, double-digit leads in each one, and has not found a way to win them.
That is a bad rap to carry.
With strategic errors in a lot of them. This error is so glaring because it's good. Like, there is an advantage to getting the ball first because you could be the third team to score.
But you never saw that possession.
But you never would, because the Chiefs know enough to go for 2 if both teams score a touchdown.
And not just that, but like you kicked that field goal. You know, it was 4th and 4 on the 9-yard line.
Yeah.
Okay, in that situation,
You gotta
I don't
go
know if
for
a
it.
lot of people are talking about that, but you do have to go because, in my opinion, if you kick the ball off to him, you risk way more with Mahomes and the ball in his hand. The way they've been moving the ball down the field without Dre Greenlaw, which was a huge deal.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying they picked him apart in coverage. They didn't kill Burks in coverage. But that changes the tone of the game. Like not being able to get. You know why Kansas City was struggling so early?
They were
2nd and 13, 2nd and 15, 2nd and 20, all in the first half.
as a result
As a result of being behind the sticks because the defensive line and linebackers are kicking their ass
getting
too fast.
fucking that first
You know,
those
the
first
first-
few drives, I was a little bit concerned.
A little bit. I was a lot of bit concerned.
I had just interviewed those guys from Kansas City, and I was like, they're never gonna let me in that building ever again.
Well, yeah, no. I mean, I
and
thought
then
that was
for
a
them to finish the way they do was great. We're gonna cover all of it.
great
right?
interview, by the way, Kyle.
Thanks.
You did great.
Great
And
interview.
it was awesome. And I just look at that and I'm like, you know, the first couple possessions,
Those linebackers were playing.
It was the D lineman beating gap scheme stuff, blowing up pullers. It was, hey, I'm running a screen out to Kelsey Chase Young.
See Nick Allegretti get hit, peeled off the pile.
Yeah, dude.
I was
There's-
like, Nick's down. What are they gonna do? Who are they gonna put in? Wanya Morris is going in the game.
Fred Warner's he's knifing in there. I mean, like they were in fast forward, and when that front can win you games, like we'll get to Steve Wilkes in a little bit, but like that was the formula. And when Dre Greenlaw went out and the box got a little bit less intimidating on early downs, then you started to see Patrick Mahomes. His shot chart was a bunch of green dots in the middle of the field and shallow, and you know, in the pass game, in the run, they're able to do that stuff because they're not behind the sticks. They came out in the second half, and I think they were ready to go. And I think they knew that with Greenlaw down, it's going to be different. But the very first play of the second
Shot
half,
themselves in the foot.
they shot themselves in the foot again. And I think this is what it comes down to. When you talk about the Chiefs and you talk about this Super Bowl victory, trying to put it into context. All year we've been trying to figure out who the Chiefs are. You know, in the beginning, they're Super Bowl favorites. Then they're going
They
through
get
a
beat at
slump.
home by
Then
the
they're like,
Lions.
oh my God, they're getting beat at home by the fucking the Raiders late in the season, who completed 0 passes for 3 quarters. You're like, oh, the sky is falling. Then the playoffs start, and you're like, oh, they've kicked it back into high
The
gear.
15% rule you
This
talk
is
about.
who they are, the 15% rule. No, who they are is that team that played yesterday. The team that Blake Watson drops the ball, that Pacheco fumbles again, that MVS catches the ball on 2nd and 4 when you're in field goal range almost and runs backwards.
That was
like
one of the most
when
puzzling
people
plays.
talking about the game being rigged.
That's
felt
when you
rigged.
think Madden is broken.
Yeah.
The guy keeps going backwards.
But I'll tell you this. They were good enough to win despite all that. And like if you want to contextualize who this team was, they were very imperfect champions, but they're champions, and what allowed them to be champions was not only the quarterback, who we're going to talk about and try to put his performance and his career in context, but the 3 phases. And I'm talking about not just special teams, because both special teams played well, but I'm talking about the offensive coordinator against the defensive coordinator, Andy Reid against Steve Wilkes, having things to dial up and key down.
And Matt Nagy. A lot of that read option stuff, Matt Nagy salivates when he gets the right front and he has the right quarterback. And I saw it firsthand with Mitch. He would let Mitch kind of have free reign on the read option stuff.
And they don't show a lot of that stuff
To
all
see them
year.
do that in the biggest moment, and they just say, hey, Pat, shit is cloudy out there. Get us a first
Well, you
down.
know what's even more cloudy for is the end. I mean, there's a lot, and the people that they're reading at that point in the game, they're throwing a lot
Travis
at the
scraping
tackle
out
box.
to the flat.
Yeah, there's a lot of motion. There's a lot of eye candy, and then Nick Bosa. I don't want to say he bit because the way that's drawn up
You have a
is you
job
have
to do.
rules, and so maybe somebody on the second level got sucked into some eye candy, and then it's a lot of field. So like. Offensive coordinator Matt Nagy helping out, Andy Reid calling the plays against Steve Wilkes, who the reason that airplanes are so easy to fly now is because they're on fucking autopilot. That's the way it should have been for Steve Wilkes. Okay, 4-man rush is working. This Pats Giants formula is working. Ironically, Spags is the D coordinator for those runs. Wilkes took his hands and put them on the wheel before it was time to land the plane. Like, why are we sending the house? I'll give you a perfect example.
Even Tony groaned.
The Rasheed Rice third down where they leak him out into the flat. I think they traded the back. I'm not sure. But either way, the back was opposite the blitzer. And if you're an edge blitzer, oftentimes your job is to pick up the free runner, the peel guy. It was so surgical. You know, he had the blitz look early. He was able to get into the check. Do you think Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are not going to have the right check? And do you think they're not going to be so surgical and exact that, you know, McKinnon's going to wait? I think it was McKinnon, actually. I think it said Rice. McKinnon's going to wait for that blitzer to clear so he
was
can
activated
pick him
the
up.
night before the Super Bowl.
And he was such a big
And
deal.
we've talked
for them.
about him on the Green Light Pod a lot.
To get that free release versus blitz, like that's what they're going to have dialed up. And on a couple of occasions, including the 3rd and 10 to Kelsey, I think in regulation, they decide to heat these guys up. And Wilkes has had a habit of doing this, like against the Vikings earlier this year, where like, hey, no need to reinvent the wheel. You've got 4 guys that are whipping. They are just crushing these dudes, man. So they won, right down to the return motion to win the Super Bowl. It's the same motion that gave the Eagles hell a calendar year ago twice. Corn dog, is that what they call it?
They call it.
He calls everything food, huh?
Corn dog.
No.
And then you go. I
don't know why they call it corn.
And then you go to Shanahan, and Shanahan, I think, is a great play caller. I think he's the reason they're there. I think he's the reason they're in the game. But Christian McCaffrey didn't get the ball much in the third quarter, and I think more than anything, Spags dialing up pressure on 2 of the biggest downs. One in regulation, one in overtime, where you're going to decide between kicking a field goal and scoring a touchdown based upon the success or the failure of this play. Mm-hmm. Spags getting free runners. He got 8 or 9 of them on the day. Nobody's better at generating free runners than
Lulling
Steve Spagnuolo.
somebody to sleep in protection and then sending it right by their ear hole, like when they look down and check their Twitter. Like,
yeah, like, oh,
robbers
shit.
coming into your bank. You know?
McDuffie in regulation on what was the biggest third down of the game because they were down a timeout. Those guys are in the red zone. They're going to kick the ball with 0 time to go if they convert. So we don't even see overtime if that happens. And then in overtime, Chris Jones is a free runner, the protection breaking down. Spags, Reed is a head coach. We talked about the overtime stuff. They won. Their coaches won this game, and so did the quarterback. That's the difference. Purdy did enough. He just didn't do the extra credit stuff. The extra credit stuff, that's what Patrick Mahomes did.
And I want to shout out my old coach, Joe Cullen, D-line coach for KC. Had those guys humming, like the interior D-line.
Mm-hmm.
They wrecked a lot of havoc. Trent Williams got put on his back
In the run
early,
game, yeah, I saw that.
like in the run game of stuff, and like just knowing the way Joe Cullen coaches, you get off the ball, you rush the quarterback, you rush the passer, like on the way to the ball, stopping the run, and like that's what they did early, and like you can definitely see the difference with the line of scrimmage for KC.
Well, they had big reserve guys that made plays. Like, that's the thing. When they were down Omenahu, like, Chris Jones can't do it all. So, big 69 in there.
Yo,
He's a fucking beast. He
It was
in there.
Pennell and Chanel.
Yeah. And Chanel made some great plays. Like
Chanel's stat
so,
line
like,
yesterday was like under the radar, sneaky, amazing.
yeah, a lot of guys on that defense. And this is the thing. That defense is a sum of the parts defense in that, you know, like it is a bunch of role players and a couple key dudes, like namely the corners and Chris Jones and some good linebackers, but a lot of guys in between made a lot of plays. And I think they are the best defense in the league. I don't think you can walk away from this season and say
they matched San Francisco's bully. Like San Francisco
Yes.
kind of like a bully team. Their defense, when you're watching the game, you're like, Jesus, when you're watching like some of the team tackling that they have, and KC, they kind of like, I felt like they set the tone, like on defense, like throughout the entire game.
There's certain units that you play as an offensive lineman where you say we're not going to make hay on a majority of these runs, but we're going to keep our foot to the pedal, and hopefully we can squeak some of these out for big first downs in the moments that we have to. And I give a tremendous amount of credit to this Chiefs offensive line. Like you and I talked about at the beginning of the game, it was surviving the knockout punches by the 49ers because I'll tell you what, they came out like a bunch of rabid dogs. And when I saw the Trent Williams intro with the players walking out of the tunnel, you know, we can talk all we want all week about this matchup and the greatness of Mahomes and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, both these teams have to come out and play one another. And to see the way that the Steve Wilkes-led defense came out and played bully ball early and tried to establish, they were going to pee on Andy Reid's bush and say, this is our bush.
Yeah.
The line of scrimmage is ours.
Yeah.
Beat us with Mahomes with our shell coverage. And to your point, it was sketchy at best to see Steve Wilkes bring all that pressure in those key downs and put the ball in Mahomes' hands. Because, look, the question we have about any quarterback in the league not named Mahomes is he going to make the right throw in time under pressure? And that's the test that Steve Wilkes gave Patrick Mahomes last night in the biggest game. And it just I don't understand it. But at the end of the day, it's a good thing. Patrick Mahomes continues to build on his legacy. It was unbelievable. There's so much more to talk about in this game. Stuff on the sideline that was happening as well with Travis and Andy
that's
getting
another
involved.
thing is like
We haven't even talked about
this
that.
team overcame
the emotions.
This team overcame like to see Travis bump Reed, which is a bad look.
Lucky they won.
Bad look.
It's our boy.
And he'll
love
be the
Travis.
first to
He'd be
say-
the first to say it.
He shouldn't have gone.
That doesn't absolve him.
So many
and
RPM.
I understand like now like everything is about like we're gonna let this guy off the hook in the media. I'm like, really, what am I gonna do to affect Travis Kelce's day?
Yeah.
It was a bad look. He wants that back, I'm sure. They also have a relationship where I think they've
People
been
don't get
together a
them.
long time. And AJ Brown's point is absolutely correct. He'd be run out of the gym if he did something like that. But special players get special treatment sometimes, and special groups of people that have been together a long time, you give a little bit more leeway. I don't know what would come of this that would satisfy people. It's like, are we just gonna make it the first take talking point for a week after a Super Bowl like that? Had they lost, that would be the lasting impression. Rashee Rice jawing at Patrick Mahomes on the sideline, like, buddy, this is a Super Bowl. You're mad about not getting the ball or something? Like, we're trying to win this game. So they were not perfect yesterday. All these things. And I think for Mahomes to overcome that, I don't know that Tom Brady wins this game. Like, since we're doing the Brady and Mahomes thing, so much of what Mahomes had to do yesterday was finding time with his legs.
He had to become Lamar.
like it wasn't quite the Tampa Bay Super Bowl where he had no time, but
He had a Josh Allen throw. He consumed Josh Allen in Buffalo. He had a Josh Allen throw.
Yep.
He consumed Lamar Jackson in Baltimore.
Yep.
And he had about a half dozen Lamar Jackson
Yep.
runs yesterday. It's
Yep.
like he just becomes who he eats.
well, when you look at like you are what you eat, 300 something yards passing, 60 yards rushing, like he did a lot of it himself, and they took what they were given offensively. But to get that, he needed to buy time early. It was like if you just gave him a little bit more time,
He didn't
that
have it.
crosser's going to
Bosa was
open
there.
up, or that. And I think once he had the time, and once he found the way he wanted to navigate the pocket, because that's tough. They were in cover 4 a lot, so they were trying to take away the seams.
And take away his right arm rush.
And so, I think when you watch Patrick Mahomes, like he's either going to buy time laterally and try to wait for a crosser to open up or the zone to get flooded, that sort of thing, or he's going to climb violently from like 9-10 yards and try to rifle
Get the
something up the
suck.
middle of the field. Yeah, he's going to try to.
That's what they call it.
He's trying to pull
Suck.
coverage.
That's what they call it.
Yeah,
It's like play action.
Yeah, no.
It brings the suck.
I know. I'm just trying to say it in a way that I don't have to. So, like he's trying. Let me pause here. He's trying to suck the linebackers up.
Suck the D in. Say it.
No, he's trying to pull the linebackers up so that he can work the intermediate stuff because that's the game he plays. So he had to work all this stuff in the pocket to find the right way to attack these guys. And as the game went on, he did. I'll just say this run, it's a memorable one because to get back is hard, right? Like it's really hard, as evidenced by seeing so many teams that try to do it. But the way that they had to go about it, the slump during this season, being left for dead, having to go on the road, they beat Josh Allen in Buffalo, okay? They beat Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. Everybody's talking about the best team. They beat the hottest team, right, in Buffalo. Then they beat the best team in the Ravens. And then they beat the best team from the other.
They beat the best roster.
The best roster. So they did all this in a
Triple crown.
and we didn't even mention the Dolphins, who, like they won out in the elements. I know, but I mean,
A little late in the season to be talking about the Dolphins.
Exactly. They beat the fastest team. They beat the hottest team. They beat the best team. And then they, the team with the MVP, and then they beat the best roster.
And then they beat the new rules in overtime.
Exactly. The craziest thing about the Super Bowl, if you
What
think
else
about
can you beat?
What next?
if you think about the way the Super Bowl went, it's kind of the same way that the Chiefs season went. The first 4 quarters,
Microcosm.
it was kind
That's
of
what
like
Pat used.
Yeah.
hey, there was kind of like adversity, but at the same time, if you're a Chiefs fan and you're watching the game, you're like, we're still in this.
Yeah.
Like we're still in this. And then
no doubt.
when overtime hit, it turned on just like they turned on into the playoffs.
Yep.
Everything was clicking. There was no mistakes, no mental errors, and they went on a drive to win the Super Bowl like they wanted to win the Super Bowl, and they did it.
Dan Orlovsky just tweeted the Chiefs faced numbers 2, 3, 4, and 6 offenses in the playoffs, which combined to average 28.3 points per game this season. They averaged 15.8 versus Kansas City in the playoffs. He shaved off 12.5 points. Spags, shaved off 12.5 points, 4 of the best defenses in the NFL.
Draft kind of got the Niners in trouble a little bit. Like, the Trey Lance thing, I mean, I know it's not, the
Our third quarterback's our best quarterback. Well, that's not very good.
yeah, and then drafting the kicker. I know that like Moody hit a
You
big
hate that.
big
You
kick,
hate that, don't you?
but I've seen Moody miss a lot of kicks this year, and the extra points the reason they went to overtime.
You think drafting a kicker sets like a franchise back?
No, and it's just got to be perfect, and so I that extra point
Got to go Eastern European.
that extra point he had to it's got to be a ski, but that extra point he's got to get that thing up, and
At least hit the upright, right?
and that's the thing, like
Even the field goal was in the left third of the upright. It wasn't even a very confident
no
strike there.
we sit here and we talk about all the mistakes the Chiefs made. The mistakes the Niners made, the Niners' best chance was to just play good, clean ball, right?
Catch a punt, don't muff it.
Don't
Peter.
Don't muff a punt, and don't fumble the ball in plus territory. I know it's Christian
that play
McCaffrey.
was hard. I think he was screaming Peter, and that's just like a.
I know,
crazy
but their
bounce.
mistakes all the same,
I feel
and you leave the door
Big as the
open
Super
for these
Bowl.
guys.
No, I feel you.
You leave the door open for these guys, and so I just think again, it was hey, we're down 10-0, and this is now Mahomes, the inverse of Shanahan, has come back from double digits in every Super Bowl he's been in.
Jon Snow.
Okay, and you add to that the Houston game where I remember going to New Orleans to watch the national championship in college, and I boarded the plane and they're down like 3 touchdowns or whatever it was, and I was like, holy shit, Bill O'Brien, and then we land because the internet was spotty, and it's like, oh my God, and they are like the Warriors. They are that team where no lead's safe. Even if it's 10-0 and they look like they're dead offensively, they're still the Warriors because you give them a crack of that door and they're going to get in it. 1:43 to go, second possession in overtime. You don't score to go up 17-0. When you get the ball at midfield in third quarter, like you left that door open, and Jason's coming with a knife, dude. And that's who Patrick Mahomes.
There was a point in the broadcast when the Chiefs were in scoring territory, and we were all hoping for 7. They're
Yes.
down in the game, but they take 3.
Yes.
And they weren't even really in scoring territory. It was like 60 yards away,
Yep.
right, Chris?
Yep.
So Tony Romo's – the camera's on Mahomes, and Mahomes is saying – he's mouthing good drive, good drive, good drive, good drive, dapping up all his guys.
Yes.
All the while, Tony Romo is saying, and Mahomes has got to be frustrated. He's frustrated. I'm like, to your point,
Look at him.
guys, we don't have to kill him right here, but we just have to stay within striking distance for the next one.
Look at
Because
him.
That's the way that this roster is built. That's the way Brett Veach put this entire thing together with Andy Reid from top to bottom. The defense is amazing. Dave Tobe's special teams was lights out when they had to be. And I think about, the punting game. I think about the operation, Tommy Townsend making the catch over his right shoulder and getting that ball down
Yeah.
on the Super Bowl record.
Yeah.
There's just a lot to
Townsend
appreciate
played
there.
great,
There's a lot of good football there.
And I want to shout out
There's bad ball and great
And I
ball.
want to shout out the Niners. Listen, we're all negative here, but Brock Purdy is the guy for them. Okay, I don't want to have this conversation this offseason about listen, they just were in the Super Bowl with a chance to win that thing. I don't think
That
there's
ball
any-
he made to Connolly, I was like, yeah, this is just
Yeah.
another Sunday for him.
Yeah, no, and listen, I know he looked kind of suspect in the first half of the playoff games leading up to this and that sort of thing. But this guy got you to the Super Bowl, and there weren't a bunch of throws he missed. Now there was a throw he missed that was set up perfectly for a touchdown. They dialed up, but Chris Jones.
You talking about the pressure, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's just bad protection. That's why O-line is important.
And both these teams, I think, going into the offseason have to look at offensive line.
Whatever protection you have that has 95 unblocked,
yes,
you need to throw out that page.
No question. But I look at this and I just say, I say look at the offensive lines. These two teams got here. They're great offenses. I mean, maybe not Kansas City, great offense, great quarterback, but the San Francisco's offense is dangerous. They did that with some guys up front that I'd replace. And I would look at replacing some guys up front for Kansas City. I think they're going to have to make a decision on defense, with some of the numbers. I haven't looked at their cap.
Oh, they're definitely going to have some cash.
Snead and Chris, those are two guys they're going to have to pay. Maybe you have to make a decision. Maybe it's going to be drafting a corner, letting Snead walk. Like, I'm not saying
Great thing is you got McDuffie on the rookie deal still.
You got McDuffie on the rookie deal. But here's what it is. The Niners are going to be fine. Okay, like, don't overreact. The Chiefs, we asked a lot, is this Travis Kelce's last game? Is this Andy Reid's last game? And I think after the game, they both said, we'll be back. And Brett Veach said it out loud. We're trying to go for a three-peat. Nice. Which is good to say that because you know what?
Get it out there.
Just say it, dude, because I get so – people get so –
Because you are.
Yeah, like somebody says we want to win a championship next year. It's like bulletin board material or something.
I thought you didn't.
I thought you didn't, right. A three-peat is so rare in sports, man. It's so rare in any –
Who's done it?
Professional sport.
In any sport, three-peat.
Bulls.
The Bulls.
That's it
Celtics,
in any sport?
Bulls, Celtics.
So
Lakers,
in football,
Lakers, right? Yeah.
in football, it's unheard of, right?
Right.
And so even with all dynasties we've had in sports, this would be the most incredible one. And I think they're like Last Dance documentary worthy if they go win this thing. Let me tell you something. When I finished in 17,
they're going to do it.
I can remember we won a Super Bowl, the physicals the next year. I'm in line getting ready to get weighed in and everything. And everything in me is telling me, walk out. I don't want to be here. I'm done. But I stayed because, I can remember I was like, if I walk out of line here, there's like 4 guys left. I'm done. Like, just walk. Just get out of the fucking line. I was like calling myself names. I was like, you coward. You don't want to be here. But I stayed in line. Got my physical, and I played in 2018. And I don't regret it, even though we came up just short, because the depth of emotion and the experience of being in a room with guys that have an opportunity to repeat in pro sports, just thinking about the prospect of it, there's a depth to that people don't understand. And I can't even imagine being in such rare air that you're like, we could win 3 in a row. So I completely understand why Travis Kelce wants to come back.
I have
Andy Reid,
immense FOMO.
Everybody. Well, I do too, and I never was on the Chiefs because it is – you can't get that feeling anywhere else. You know what I mean, Kyle?
Probably not.
It's to win 3 in a row, to even just to set out on that course, even if it doesn't happen. Next year is going to be a really deep experience for these guys.
I remember after they lost the AFC Championship, after we lost the AFC Championship, and I was on the sideline finally in pads after breaking my leg.
Yeah.
And we had our exit meeting.
You looked good. You looked really good out there.
Well, no, I didn't.
I had binoculars.
I didn't understand that it would take a year and a half for my leg to feel good.
Yeah.
I was talking to the boys before the show. I was like, if I was a single guy with no kids, or if I was just married with no kids, I would probably try to go give it a run again. But I'm not. That's not the situation.
Kate's fault.
No. On the exit interview, though, it was like we were pregnant with Frankie, and it was a lot of stuff that we had to handle. And it's like, that's the best thing that I've done is having kids, and I have so much fun. We've got 2 now. Yeah, we got a new daughter.
Yeah,
she's
congrats
awesome.
Too, by the way.
She's amazing. Kate is incredible.
Super Bowl week.
It was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
You couldn't name her Patty?
Being there. No, not Patty. We tried Travis. Doesn't work for a girl. But yeah, my point is this. I think about, because I went there to interview those guys last week.
Yep.
And all the guys were like, man, the O-line, I miss those guys. And apparently they miss me too. When I was there, it was good to see
that's
them.
what it seemed like.
And I'm like, man, I could have been on that roster last year. I could have been on that roster this year as depth.
Yes.
to be
Yeah.
like a veteran presence.
Yeah, but I mean, to
And
be
I'm
a
like-
part of it.
And now you're like, well, they're going to go for 3. I could have maybe had a chance to had more rings than you in an alternate universe.
Think about Hargrave from the Eagles.
I'm closing my eyes.
I know, but think about Hargrave. From
5 rings.
Oh yeah,
2
Between
guys.
us, we could put our hand together. Eat that.
Thanos?
Eat that, Tom Brady. Well, no, he's got like 7. So,
But these guys are doing something that's so like fantasy land.
yeah. And I think what the crazy thing is, like,
They're the main characters.
they're the main characters in
And
sports.
if you think you are a main character out there and you ever have any doubts, you might be right because there are 3 guys, I would argue, on the Chiefs that are the main character.
Yeah.
For older gentlemen, it's Andy Reid. The quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, the best ever to play the position, on trajectory to go as far out in the universe. We don't even have satellites to reach that far.
No.
And then Travis Kelce, who is dating the most popular person, the most famous person on the planet, who actually owns a spaceship.
and who rigged the Super Bowl?
So there's 3 main characters. So if you think you're a main character, you might be. You're just not in the right chapter yet.
No, but I honestly like they have some important important supporting cast roles too, and I think keeping as many of those guys in there as they can. Chris Jones is a huge one. I would almost call him a main character, but like Snead, McDuffie, Snead's up.
Creed Humphrey in the O-line world.
Creed
Creed
Humphrey.
Humphrey's like a celebrity.
The snaps were tough. I'm not like
Snaps were
That
tough.
was another thing that was like, hey, Patrick Mahomes got to work through a couple bad snaps. Like we've seen other quarterbacks like against the Chiefs. Tua had a bad snap, and it was just like the play was over.
Creed gets really
like-
horny about getting hands on people quick, and that's
Yeah.
one of the things that makes him a very, very, very good center. As
But he was really
he's
trying-
tremendous
yeah.
physically, and sometimes his process can get rushed a little bit, and that's when that snap comes out a little bit low. We've seen it at times since his rookie year. It's not been something that's going to be lethal for him, but it proved to be troublesome at times. But then he pays it back in the run game. He pays it back in protection. And Patrick, obviously, best athlete on the planet, making great plays before the
Yeah.
play even starts.
Yeah, and I look at this thing next year and I say, it's so hard to do, but they just did the hardest one. I mean, they played terrible this year for stretches, and I don't think people thought coming into the playoffs they had a shot, and I know some people did. Like
How about that under route by Travis Kelce?
well, Travis Kelce's balling out in like the last 10 playoff games.
It was the
played.
fastest he's ran since 2018 or something.
Yeah, it was like 18 miles an hour or something like that. I mean, so
A little horse.
yeah, I mean, I'm just so impressed with their organizational fortitude. What's between Patrick Mahomes' ears? It's the same thing you said, like when guys were coming off the field and he was saying, "Good drive, good drive, good drive," and it was like a disappointment to some. He's that guy
We're
that
alive.
to start this bad run, the MVS throw. We've talked about this against Philly, where he drops the ball. Patrick Mahomes gets up at the podium and says, I could put that ball a little bit, more on target. And we're all like, shut up, dude. Really? This fucking guy. MVS is the problem.
And then they go play
And then
Baltimore.
they go 3rd and 9 against Baltimore to close the game out, and he does correct the throw. And, it's just that's the leadership.
Was that the one to Travis?
No, it's the one to MVS.
Well, the one to Travis at the right pylon at his shoelace.
Oh, it was beautiful.
So,
It was beautiful.
and every other quarterback would just be fist pumping and pointing to their number. His comment after that was, they can't guard you.
Yes.
So to empower your teammates
Yes.
is Patrick's superpower.
That's his superpower. He makes people better around him.
Right.
And I think
he makes people feel like they can do anything.
And we just want to say this. Chris Jones, they don't win the Super Bowl if not for Chris Jones, because we talked about the overthrow that he forced. We talked about some of the near huge plays in this game that he doesn't end up on the stat sheet with sacks, but they're like 6-point plays.
Disruption equals production.
The Shakir play in the Bills game, they're not there if it's not for, possibly if it's not for him lining up over Dawkins and beating him. Josh Allen's going to hit that throw. And so there's a bunch of little plays that this defense made. It wasn't the most spectacular thing at times, but they just, to be down 10-0, it feels like you're free falling.
But
I've been there
it seemed
before.
like it.
And to stop the bleeding.
2,000 miles away, it seemed like.
Yeah, for Spags to put the tourniquet on and say, hey, we're going to give you time to find your footing as an offense, that was huge.
Patrick Mahomes, it's funny, the whole year we talked about, or the term game manager got a bad connotation.
Yep.
And if you kind of look at the game, Patrick Mahomes was like the perfect game manager. Like he kind of took what was given to him, which was all like the San Francisco basically was saying like, yo, we're taking away all deep threats. Like,
And
we're gonna
Fred
let
Warner's
them,
taking away Travis Kelce.
yeah,
He wore him
and
like a
and
glove.
we're just gonna let them, we're gonna give them stuff. And Patrick Mahomes was like, okay, and he managed the game. He didn't try to take what wasn't there. And it's crazy to think that basically a game manager won the Super Bowl.
The irony of Patrick Mahomes putting that hat on at times during this game against the guy that the whole conversation's been centering around that.
Yep.
You know, and it's like the Lamar thing a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. You know, like
Just manage it.
Lamar had in his mind that he had to win with his arm. He got caught up in the narrative. You know, like the narrative that so often drives legacies is like, you know, hey, we want to see Lamar throw the ball. Lamar, just be you.
Be you,
You know,
bro.
be you. And for Brock, you know, with people talking about game manager, not a game manager, I thought he did a good job during the playoffs of shrugging that conversation off and just trying to do enough to win.
He made the
And-
throw
and-
to
and I-
Debo, but Trent made the play to break
That was
it
an
up.
incredible
He
play.
made Brock Purdy
unreal.
made the throw that would have been the nail in the coffin,
It was an incredible
and
play.
Trent McDuffie made a better play.
It was an incredible play.
That's team win.
And I'll just say, like, you know, it's the Niners shouldn't be hanging their heads. I know it's hard for a guy like George Kittle, where, you know, I just watched this on Inside the NFL last week. We went through B-roll, and there's mic'd up from 5 years ago, and he's like on the sidelines at the end of that game, and he's like,
We'll be back.
"We'll be back, and I'll be back with a vengeance." And you know, like no reason to doubt Kittle. I'm sure he said it again last night. But every time you come up just short, you know, my dad used to say. You know, I'd say he'd go on the road and meet with teams. You know, like somebody would have him go talk to their team. I'd say, well, what'd you tell him? And he's like, this is before a big game. I think he told like the Steelers or something this. He was like, when I went in 1983, I thought we'd be back like all the time. And we weren't. You know, we were close. We never got back. Never won another one. That's the hard part of losing this game. And, you know, when I watched Brock Purdy walk off the field with that confetti coming down, I've talked about this. I talked about it on the pod last week. I had a D-line coach named Mike Waffle, who was this ornery old Marine.
Waff.
And, you know, was on our ass all the time. He coached in New York with the Giants and got a couple rings. And they were the strength of that team. And we were the strength of our team in St. Louis. But we never got to see it. And what he always told us was, my biggest wish for you guys is that you can feel that confetti raining down on your head. And I would just fantasize about it. Just like I was like, I can't wait to scoop it up. And it never happened in St. Louis, but when it happened for me eventually, I can remember being out there with Rob Nikovich at midnight, doing one more interview out on the field in street clothes. The stadium's empty. I'm on hands and knees scooping up confetti. I got a box of pizza. Those memories, I mean, like last night I'm doing the breakdown, talking about what's at stake, and I'm like, here's what's at stake. I grabbed these 2 shadow boxes. I'm like, these, like, don't steal these from me because they're not actually worth anything, but it's the little shadow boxes full of confetti from each Super Bowl. And they're the most important thing to me that I have. Not the ring, nothing. And because of what Mike Waffle said, and I just, when you walk on that field, you're either going to get a bag full of confetti or it's just going to be hitting you in the head. And it's going to feel like it's 1,000 pounds because that's what Ryan Clark told me. He's like, I don't remember the confetti when I won. I remember just being covered in it.
Walking out with Mike
And
Tomlin.
walking out with Mike Tomlin and just watching Brock and those guys. Like, it's the most heartbreaking and exhilarating moment. And that's why I always say, for somebody that takes the field in the Super Bowl, it's so scary because it's your worst nightmare or your best dream ever. And it's 60 minutes of football, and you're going to be on one side or the other. And so I feel so badly for guys that don't get to win, like Trent Williams.
Oh,
Trent Williams, like every great player on that field yesterday should have won a Super Bowl. They all deserve it, but that's the way the cookie crumbles, man, and that's what makes it such a great accomplishment.
I was talking with my mom, and my mom thinks that until San Francisco's organization apologizes to Kaepernick, they're going to be cursed.
That's funny. That's funny.
any other takes your mom has?
He saw Cap in Vegas.
How was he?
He just walked in,
He is big as shit.
He really, like,
He
that's
is
the first
so
thing I
big.
noticed is that Yo, like he looks like a basketball player.
Did he have a fro or did he have braids?
No, he had a. It wasn't like the shaped up fro. It was out, and it was like it made him look very.
Oh, he
very
looks tall as shit with the fro.
like polarizing.
Like an NBA street character.
Yeah.
Yes, but he had like a
Like
long. I think he had like a
6'9".
long black jacket on. He
Imagine
looked-
chasing his ass around, Nate.
bro, I did.
But like for like every day, I would hate
I
that.
did. He whooped our ass. The
Long
Bears.
ass drive.
Dude, the first game he ever played in,
The second game,
we
you
knocked
like
Alex
he
Smith
did that
out.
to you, and then he continued when he got the first start against us the following week and went ham on the Bears.
So yeah, that's a good fan theory. You know, from
So they
from
have to-
Mama
It's like
Fat.
an Indian
yeah.
burial ground.
Yeah, it's like you can't
Native
win here.
American burial
Yeah,
ground.
Native American burial ground. God, Kyle,
I was
give me
born
a
in
rest.
1988.
me a
Thank you.
They don't want it.
Thank
They
you.
don't want it to turn into some like.
We're
they
good
don't-
now.
They don't want it to turn into the
Better?
Bambino curse.
It's like when I kiss my daughter's hand after she falls, and she
Yeah.
goes, better.
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 It's better now, Kyle. So I, like I don't know what else there is to really say.
I have
The
some
game.
things
You
to
got
say
some-
about the game,
Okay.
some things about after the game.
Okay.
I give credit to some of the Chiefs linemen who were getting ready to dump the Gatorade on Coach Reed, and they made sure that Tammy, get out of the way. They didn't want Tammy's
So did the
coat to get
No.
Gatoraded.
Do you think
I'm
he
pissed.
expected did they pose him like to get
Yeah.
the Gatorade dumped on him?
They
Because I
made
feel
it,
like they
yes.
didn't at
No,
first.
they were walking. He was walking up to go do the media stuff, and his guys trailed behind him, and they
Okay.
got his wife out of the way, and boom.
Because I think Vegas was like
And my favorite thing
some
about
guy in a
we
suit
almost
came down
won.
the field and was like,
My
you
favorite
got
thing
it.
after the-
No
You gotta pay
Gatorade
these back.
bath. Almost won. He was getting away.
What was the odds?
Plus
on
30,000.
Yeah,
Here you go.
I think that's why Vegas was like. I think Vegas came
no,
up.
it's not linemen.
I think a guy in an earpiece was like, "Hey,
Yo,
you
make
that's
sure
got
you
it."
do it.
That's Wanya Morris on the right.
Like
Yeah,
a
so
Buffalo
it is a
Wild
lineman.
Wings call.
Yes, a Buffalo Wild Wings call, and those Buffalo Wild Wings
Yeah, he didn't
call
They
usually
got Tammy
come.
off him.
Those calls usually come in overtime, so they probably did it.
I got one thing. I got one more thing, and I got to get.
I got plenty of things.
I got to give someone no, but like before we get into our other portion in our ads, I give a tremendous amount of credit to Taylor Swift. Okay, number one, for not only just being seemingly a really cool girlfriend, right?
Yep.
But at the end of the game, when the trophy presentation and the interviews, she is amongst the crowd
Yep.
and not on stage and not
Right.
trying to upstage anybody.
Yeah, I don't think she ever was. I know some people
was
are
the
going to be
coolest
like
thing.
just the act of being
She was
his
waiting to get
girlfriend.
proposed to, bro.
If you believe it's a real relationship, which I know it is,
It was the most normal thing to see that, and I
Yeah.
was like, huh.
I've heard really nice things about her. I don't want to spend like 10 minutes talking about Taylor Swift because I
wanted
know
to say
that
that.
I don't want to feed the trolls. But I thought, listen, I wasn't even counting the Taylor. I wasn't even on my mind,
No.
and I don't remember much about her last night. I remember Blake Lively.
She was
Me
with
too.
Ice Spice, bro.
You know, like how about Jason meeting Ice Spice? The video of Jason meeting Ice Spice.
Think you the shit.
I'm
bitch.
not even sure he knew exactly
Not
who
even
she
know.
was in
You
pop
think,
culture because
"Hi,
the
I'm
way
Ice,"
he was like,
Or is
he,
it, hi, I'm Spike?
he was like, "Hi, nice to meet you." He like went down to her level, like he wasn't sure who she was,
like a kid.
and she was super psyched to meet him. You could tell. Jason is in rare air with the celebrities he's hanging out with now. Ice Spice, Blake Lively, whoever else.
He was just drunk enough to go in and like violently hug Taylor Swift, and then
Somebody said
have
Blake
the
Lively.
respect to shake the hand of Ice Spice. Like,
Yeah. Somebody said Blake Lively looked better. That's pretty much what you could say in almost any room.
Evergreen tweet.
in America. Yeah. Whoever she's in the suite with, except for Dua Lipa, she's gonna
I don't know. That'd be a hell of a fight.
no.
That's like Tyson and blank.
Dua Lipa could probably three-peat. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Anything.
Oh, I mean, hey, can we talk about the festivities? I just want to say this. I noticed that the commercials were mid. We talked about this. You were saying the game
Meow.
was mid.
Kanye's
Cat-
commercial
the
was
cat,
good.
The cat.
I don't even remember Kanye's commercial.
Kanye's commercial was only in certain markets, and it was him on an iPhone in the back of his car, and he's essentially saying, these commercials are so expensive that we spent all the money on the spot and no money on the commercial. So go to Yeezy.com.
Mhm, that's good.
And it was just an iPhone.
And it
I
worked-
thought he got
look,
canceled. Wait,
and
I thought
listen,
he got
No,
canceled.
back and better than ever.
Oh, so he didn't get canceled.
No.
Okay, so everybody can
listen,
shut the fuck
what he
up.
did was he put everything on his site for $20, and since last night, Chris, he's made $19.3 million.
It was guerrilla marketing.
So that marketing tactic seems like it worked.
Hopefully, he can buy his wife some clothes because she wasn't wearing any the other day.
Oh, that's interesting.
Reed, good observation.
I'll say this. I want to give out, I don't know if this is an award, but the best commercial to me was the Kawasaki commercial with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Okay? Maybe it's because I'm the demo. Like, guilty as charged.
Today's my day.
I was like, oh.
Consume all the commercials.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a really good commercial. Did it not even make the list here?
Doesn't appear to have
Talk
made
about
top 20.
Wow, that's insane. They got snubbed. This is the Athletic.
If you guys like the specific
list
commercial, at Chris and I on Twitter,
Yeah.
Big N98.
Now, I think Hellman's Mayo.
Send us your favorite commercial.
But the minute it was like, okay, oh, there's an ATV, like I'm leaning in. And then it was like, oh my God, the eagle has a mullet. Oh, the bear has a mullet. What a concept.
Steve Austin.
And then Steve Austin, we were all like, oh my God. And it didn't even make the top. By the way,
They
nerds.
probably weren't allowed to do it, but they should have did someone with the glass breaking when they put them on the screen.
Yeah. Nerds Gummy Cluster.
Ooh.
Okay, they look delicious in the whole thing, but I think it was during this commercial that I realized, like, I'm old. Because, when during the most expensive spots on TV, I'm supposed to know who a TikTok star is.
Yeah.
Addison Rae. I have no idea who that is.
What was the cat?
It's a Mayo.
Meow.
Mayo.
So Andy Reid, Andy Reid was meeting with Peter King last year, Chris, and was discussing the play call.
Yeah.
And he has it down as gun trips right bunch, F shuttle,
Yeah.
and then he says, and that gives you a little corn dog with some mustard and ketchup.
Oh, boy.
Chris.
It's always food. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yo,
That's beautiful.
Chris talked to Andy Reid.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's the shuttle.
I did. I talked to Andy Reid.
Chris talked to Andy Reid.
You saw the fake
I
Andy
saw
Reid?
that. There's
Bro,
something about that.
shout
that bothers
out-
me.
It bothers you?
Yo, Chris, shout out to
Valor.
that guy because his appearances for the next few months are probably going up now that they won.
Bro, it was an easy, like, viral little video to send out because there's a lot of people that thought it was Andy Reid. Like, people were like, I saw somebody in my mentions that was like, Chris Long heard from Andy Reid. I'm like, you think Andy Reid was just walking through Radio
The
Row?
Premier League, CBS employs, like, they cover the Premier League. So we had Thierry Henry and Micah. Micah, so he's big Jack, dude. I met him, super nice guy.
He's an EPL guy?
And they were like on Media Row. What
Yeah.
was it? Media Row. And
Yeah.
they had the fake Andy Reid there.
Yeah.
They
thought it was
They
yeah.
convinced them
Oh,
that
that's
it was
good.
real Andy Reid.
That's good.
Hilarious.
And our social team
French guys,
completely
man.
trolled them.
That's hilarious.
And they're like, "Oh, you guys are big guys. What position do you guys play?" And
Oh,
they're
that's so
like, I don't
funny.
throw the ball well. I don't throw it very
I
well.
don't throw it well.
He goes, "Well, the fullbacks don't have to throw it, young man. Don't worry about it."
I asked fake Andy Reid what he had for Kadarius Toney, and he was like, "Oh, I got some stuff drawn up for Kadarius Toney. When Patrick and Travis get tired, he's gonna be running water bottles out to him." I was like,
Is that what he said?
"Yeah," and it turned out to be the game plan because Toney didn't play.
Yeah, healthy scratch.
That
Realistically,
impersonator-
if he was playing, wouldn't that have been his play, the last play?
Yes.
What?
If Kadarius Tony's
Corn
was
dog,
playing
that would've
because
been his.
Mecole Hardman,
Oh, yeah.
like, that
Yeah.
would have been his play.
Probably kept him out just to not.
And
fuck
people
up the
forget,
corn dog.
Mecole Hardman was with the New York Jets at the beginning of the season. He was with Aaron Rodgers, and I got to see him last week, and I was
And he
like,
had a tough shot when he
I was
first
like,
got his shot.
how is it to be back? He was like, it's so nice to be back in this building.
Dude, listen,
I'm so glad he got that chance.
I also want to mention the commercials for Fire Country. Is that a parody? Like, are you telling me that's an actor on the show?
the actor, director, producer. He does all of them.
He does all of it. And no offense to the guy. I'm sure he's really good. But I just, nothing made me not want to watch the show more than the commercials. Isn't the point of the commercials to get me to want to watch the show?
Yeah.
No, to talk about it.
I was sitting there, I was like, oh, I could be in Fire Country.
Yeah,
like, no question. 100%. In Fire Country. All right, I'm not going to see Fire Country. I also want to mention the Paramount commercial. What's so interesting about the Paramount commercial with Tua and with
Throw
Peppa
the
Pig
child.
is like, I feel like they wrote this script and he agreed to it like earlier in the season, which means he wasn't thinking the season was going to end where the moment was too big for him, because the biggest line that Captain Picard delivers, that is him, right? Picard? or is that a different guy?
No, it's
Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart. Why am I having?
that's a
No,
good
not Pat. No, Captain Picard. Was that his name?
I just never.
guy
Star
from
Trek.
Who
Star
was the
Trek?
guy? Is Star Trek?
Star Trek,
It's
yeah.
Picard.
I think so.
Patrick Ricard
Not
is
Spock.
Patrick Ricard's a fullback.
Patrick Picard.
But Patrick Picard.
Patrick Picard.
he goes, the moment's too big for you. And then they have somebody else
give me
throw
that thing.
Peppa Pig up there. Yeah, Jean-Luc Picard. Was his name.
Jean-Luc.
He looks the same.
He's so handsome. See, dude, being bald is awesome.
Yeah, it is.
I'm going to look like this.
You're going to look like that the rest of your
forever.
life. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Until the company comes and
Also-
offers you that bag.
Also, should I be concerned at how powerful Temu is?
Oh.
Because
Shop
I've never
like a
heard of
billionaire.
Temu in my life, but they have all this money.
Listen, I
That's
told
what
you.
scares me. It was like 4 spots.
Listen,
4, I think.
listen, bro.
He's got-
Off season coming up. Let's sit down, have a show, and like get a budget and buy stuff off Temu and test it out.
Yes.
There
See
was
if it's legit or not.
the best tweet was the George W. Bush receiving the news in the class, and these kids were, or the title was a second Temu ad has hit the.
Oh yeah. I saw
Third
that.
Temu
I saw
ad.
that.
I don't like
That
these
meme
jokes.
works great. That meme works great.
I don't like these jokes, man.
But when you got TikTok people, I love the Reese's commercial where they're all freaking out. Like, I just love that commercial. I cannot believe they rated the Dunkin' Donuts thing
the
up high.
tea
That
and
was not a
Skechers?
good. That was not a good.
I wear
Dunkin'
Skechers.
Donuts.
Mixed-
Dad sends me Skechers because we wear the same size.
Yeah.
And I wear the hell out of them.
Oh,
So you
I don't
feel like
like
that
shopping.
should- yeah.
He sent me some too, and I love them.
They got tea and Skechers.
I know.
love
I
it.
kind of felt weird because I'm like, hey, maybe that was Dad's spot, but they put Mr. T in it.
I think Dad's doing all right.
He is doing all right. He is doing all right.
That was your,
last
your,
thing
your,
Dad
your
wanted to
pop
do.
was in it last year with Snoop.
But there's no tea in Howie.
Hey, how funny is this? Dad and well, not funny, I guess, but Dad and our youngest brother Howie. You know where they watched the game, right?
From the hotel.
In the hotel room. They watched the game in the hotel room, and they had a view of the stadium,
flyover.
and so they saw the flyover in real time. So actually, like the flyover, we were in the
Two Howies in a penthouse suite.
yeah. We were in the media row, and there were these pilots walking through, like 7 of them. And Beau's sitting there like, "Hey, we got to bet I think this is a smoke screen. I think they're going to go under on the planes on the flyover." And I'm like, "Hold on a second, flyover? We play indoors." Like I turned into Todd Bowles. Like, why are we doing a flyover over a dome?
Detroit plays it.
Do they do that every year? They do a flyover over the dome?
I
at
don't
the
think
Super
so.
Bowl?
You had me doubting myself, but they did do the flyover.
What the fuck was that? Now, cool for if you have a hotel room that's looking at the stadium, but you can. I mean, it's like
How much money was
We were bad.
lot of
We
money.
were bad with the inside information game because
Yeah.
Gronk missed that fucking kick again too.
No, I know.
push it?
No, Gronk. We saw Gronk on the way into Radio Row. We were like,
like,
"You're
"I'm
gonna
gonna
make that
drill
kick." He's like, "I've been practicing."
He said, "I'm going to practice right now. I'm
He
making
wasn't
this
practicing.
Year. Hell
He,
no.
he spent too much time at the Gronk beach party. We saw him at the beach party.
Yes.
And he was,
Him and Jules.
I think you spent too much time at the Gronk Beach party. So it was our last day.
definitely
We were
did.
leaving.
I thought no one
We
was
were
going.
leaving in the afternoon. I went back to the room, just be alone. I come down to get some buffet right before the flight, and I'm like, man, Reed he is wired right now.
And an acai bowl.
What I realized is that Reed was shit faced because he went to the Gronk Beach party. and-
margaritas were on point.
Oh, I don't know how these guys had anything
And you could
left. in
Two
the
going at
tank.
once. Two going at once.
It was incredible. How was your week before we get into America's team?
It was a busy week. Obviously, the baby came on the 6th, and I was in the hospital. And I literally got picked up at 3:30 a.m. in Charlottesville, Martha Jeff, and I went straight to Dulles to fly to Vegas. on
Hospital to
Thursday.
Vegas, the rare hospital to Vegas.
I had a
Usually
suit
the
bag hanging in the hospital bathroom, and I left I left essentially my wife and her mom, and they crushed it, and Kate's awesome. But yeah, I got to Vegas and I hit the ground running. I went straight from the airport to rehearsal at the Bellagio set, and if you were watching the CBS coverage, it was right in front of the fountains, and it was great. And the wind picked up as the week went on. It was
We tried to yell at you. We couldn't find you.
I got yelled at by a lot of people. I was actually on the desk and I heard Kyle Long is a bleeping bleep, and I turned and a nearly 2,000-yard receiver was hanging out the window. Tyreek was screaming at me from
Yeah,
the
I
street
met.
side.
I finally met Tyreek,
That's funny.
and I was like, "Hey, man, I'm Kyle Long." Like I was talking with him, and he was like, and
Sized
and
you
then
up.
and then he's looking at me, and I go, "Congrats on a great year," and he's like,
That little crazy motherfucker.
and I go, "What are you sizing me up?" Like, because I was like, "You just fucking staring at me," and he's like, trying to see if I could still block you, or trying to see if I could block you.
That guy's made of muscle.
And
He's all
I
ball.
said, I think if I don't see you coming, you might be able to block me, bro. Like he's a little Minecraft character.
saw a ton
Looks
of
like a little
people.
Ninja Turtle.
We were right there in the heart of the action, so it was awesome.
He would just
Covering the Super Bowl is fun, and covering in Vegas was unique. And luckily, I had not a lot of sleep the week before, so I prioritized getting back and
Let's talk about who you saw. Did you see anybody like that blew your mind?
blow my mind.
We,
I mean,
we can go through this. Just
Yes.
I didn't have, in terms of celebrity, I didn't have a lot of interactions. I was, in the room or at the desk.
so you didn't see a lot of people.
No,
we didn't
bro.
even see you. We were just
No.
like, we knew you were working,
Bro,
So
I was there.
Next Super Bowl, where
Yes.
there's not a baby.
When
and
I'm not
8
working,
million
when
things.
I'm not covering the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so I think next Super Bowl will be crazy.
New Orleans.
Oh, we're gonna have a great time.
And oh,
You and me in SEC.
By the way, it's
country.
Packers Chiefs because the logo just came out.
love it.
So we saw. Listen, I'll take you through
Love
the people we saw on
Mahomes.
Radio Row. We interviewed Luke Kuechly. That thing's up there. Luke Kuechly.
God,
All from the Toyota set. We had this killer. You probably saw.
I
it,
saw. I was
the
watching.
Tacoma.
You guys were kicking ass all week. By the
We
way,
were trying, man. By
Hats
the
off
way,
to you guys.
shout out to
Standard.
Toyota. They pulled a beautiful Tacoma
Oh,
right
God.
there.
Our
Puka
setup was
Nacua spent
great.
15 minutes in the Toyota. He's adjusting the mirrors. He's like,
He loves it.
I'm like, he's definitely going to drive this. David Njoku is climbing
has
all over the
now.
Toyota, bro. This
How
guy,
big is he?
he's a big dude.
Big.
He's also just like eccentric. It's like he's fun as shit. So like he gets there,
Like
and
Marty?
he's got like sunglasses. Yeah, like but different. He's got
Yes.
sunglasses on. He's got this like green leather jacket. My dad's like, I almost bought that leather jacket, and Njoku's like, like, and he's like, I want to take the truck. He's like, let me talk to somebody from Toyota. Is there anybody from Toyota here? Like, we're trying to do the interview.
Wouldn't
He's like,
sign the truck unless
he got to drive it off.
Unless he got the
Then he's climbing. He wants the box jump up onto the Toyota. He's taking pictures on top of the Toyota. Puka Nacua was. I just say this. Beau was like, I have a man crush on this guy, and that's exactly how I felt. Like when he left, I wanted
He's
to be
like a
his
little
boy.
Jason Momoa.
No, well, I just way more badass than Jason Momoa. I've never seen Jason Momoa go over across the middle
Isn't he like the god of the sea, dude?
in movies.
Yeah, well, but that's what I'm saying. Real life.
He's a real life
Disney
yeah,
character.
Yeah, he really is. He's legitimately like an 11-year vet in a rookie's body, but does not have the NFL's beat me down NFL vet attitude. He has like infectious energy, and when you ask him a question, he talks you through everything. And I love meeting him. I told him I was going
so
to
pissed I didn't
get
get to meet
his
these
gamer
guys.
tag. We'll get with Puka. Hey, I get Puka's gamer tag. I told him I'm going to kick your ass with the Rams.
Oh, he plays Madden.
Yeah, even though Waylon beat me right before the Super Bowl
Oh
last
my
night.
God.
It makes me so happy.
Well, we're playing
Oh.
3-minute quarters and played to the end of the
Oh,
Possessions are tough.
excuses.
Well,
Yo, Kyle.
I'm the one who offered it up.
just said he got beat.
Kyle, it was amazing.
All right, let me give you something. Nate was sleeping through the second half of the Super Bowl.
Saw that.
Look,
Okay? Excuses. What's your
football,
excuse?
it's not for
He's
everybody.
snoring during the Clydesdale
you just
commercial.
got back from Vegas. That was my
Excuses.
excuse.
So did I. So
Did you? Oh,
Matt didn't
you know
even
who I
show
saw?
up.
who?
World famous
I don't know.
from Sports Center fame and Green Light Pod.
Kenny
That's
May?
hate, Nate. That's hate.
Stanford
That
Steve.
is.
Oh yeah, you saw Steve.
We rode the
rub your-
same plane together,
Oh yeah, he told me.
and I was asleep in the
took
front.
pictures of you
and
sleeping in
the
the
flight attendant woke me up. Or stewardess? What? Are,
Flight attendant.
Flight attendant.
You can't say stewardess.
flight
Give me a
attendant?
wrist. Better.
The flight attendant woke me up. Nice gal.
Gal, give me a wrist.
Goes, do you want any vodka? I looked at her with like a cocked eye, and I was like, no. And she was like, well, that guy back there wants you to drink.
He tried to buy you.
And I turned around, and Steve was like 3 seats behind me, like. And I said, give me the vodka. I opened it, crushed it.
Went back to
I
sleep.
fired off a tweet and
Yeah.
then fell asleep.
That's good.
Dude, Steve is a unit.
I can see
Oh, yeah.
Steve popping
He
up
was
behind
so-
those seats.
he respects the hell out of all you
Yes.
guys after the week of work
He's
you
the
guys
man.
put in.
He does.
He said, and I quote, just a bunch of grinders.
They are grinders. They don't have a fucking choice because they're scared of their boss. They're like, oh God, do we have to continue working? No, but they worked their ass off this week, and we did. We got a lot of great interviews. Like I said, Luke Kuechly could run for president. Vernon Davis came by. It was so fun to see Vernon.
He can't
because-
beat Vivek.
What? Oh no, yeah, right, exactly. Exactly. People would be like, well, you know, like I only vote for an alpha male like Vivek.
Luke, thank you for coming to speak
Ramaswamy.
to me today.
I don't know. I like Trump. I like guys who got it out of the mud.
Okay.
This Luke
Luke
Kuechly guy
is the best and the coolest, and like what he lives with his. Does he still live with his parents?
No,
Off-season?
I don't think he lives with his parents, but he was so cool. We saw Michael Vick. Michael Vick came by with his big hat. He was there with the big hat.
saw
people.
that.
So I got to interview Vic for a little bit. Howie Long, Michael Pittman Jr. We obviously got Jason Kelsey for an hour.
Mom and Meg came on the set.
Yep. Trey McBride was awesome. Jay Glazer, it was good to see him. But then, like, walking around the media center, I got to meet Josh Allen, and I got to apologize to Josh. And I don't know if this is unnecessary to apologize to him. I don't know.
Coaster ride
Because
on
I was, like, worried that he heard that and took it the wrong way at some point.
It didn't seem like he had heard.
No, he hadn't heard it.
It seemed genuine.
But I came up to Josh, and I was like, hey, I just want to apologize, man. I called you a roller coaster ride on meth.
Make
and
my
I said,
t-shirt.
And we're doing the post game dap, like we're both like doing that thing where the quarterbacks, and I'm like, I apologize, and he's looking at me and he goes, that sounds like the biggest compliment anybody can give me. I go, that's what it was meant as.
I think he said that's the coolest fucking
That's
thing.
the coolest fucking thing I've ever heard. And I said, I think part of it might have been like I had something else to go to, but he was like, yeah, you look good to see you. And I was like, all right, that went well.
He did say you look really good.
He said I look good. He said I look good.
No, he didn't say you look
He said I
good.
look really good.
You look really good.
I was like,
Josh.
I was like, sir, you too. Look at Like I look so much smaller than Josh Allen.
He's big.
We met Josh Allen.
Little
Dicky.
You know who's bigger than I expected?
Who?
Drake.
Oh, that's funny. But you know it is. It's all about the angle, Kyle. It's all about if you can squeeze the bottom like
it's
that.
amazing his plane is big enough.
I'm not that impressed.
It's amazing his plane.
I'm not
big
that
enough
impressed.
to where he can unfurl that weapon.
Fucking squeezing the life out of his.
Yeah, he's on IR.
The video. I just had to make a joke.
Oh, you didn't see, it's not a video. No, picture.
I didn't.
I mean, anybody can squeeze the bottom like that. You know, it's like fucking.
You think I want to see that video?
It's unhealthy.
You think my day's not bad enough as it is?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, that was a tough one to see come across the timeline.
I always get geeked. I
77.
don't.
What's going on at Drake's pool?
I don't be showing it, but Chris, I don't know if you noticed or not, because he's like
fly on the wall. The guy videoing or the gal videoing, she's like 20 feet away. It's like, what's going on there? He's like alone on the.
Yo,
you know when they say I wouldn't touch her with a 20-foot pole? Well, Drake, he can.
Kyle, again, I think it's angles.
I don't know.
I'm just on the theme of
yeah. I got you.
I don't know if you know this or not, but I get geeked anytime we're around SVP.
Oh, he's
that's your boy, and like to me, I'm just like I grew up watching.
We were back in the high limit room with Scott.
And so like us being around him like this weekend, like that shit was like so lit for me. But on the last day, I'm at the table playing, and there's like a couple there for the Super Bowl, and they're having a good time, and they're seeing like football players walk by, and they're geeking out.
Yeah.
I'm playing on the table. SVP comes up behind me and was like, Dr. Fax, like, how you doing? Whatever, starts talking to me. And these people, like, their jaw drops.
Right.
Their jaw drops. They're like, yo. And he just like, it was funny. But
and also like getting together, I got to get together with, and I'm just going to like, it was almost like I set the dinner up, but I didn't. Scott wanted to get dinner with me and Ryan possibly, and Dan was in town, Big Cat was in town, and Stanford Steve obviously.
Oh, you got to see Big Cat.
Yeah, and so Big Cat. So we had a table for 5. We get down to eat, and we played credit card roulette at the end to see who pays.
It's a good group.
Picture. It was a good little group, but
it's a guilt-free group.
But Dan, like with 20 minutes left, is like, I gotta go. I gotta catch a flight. So he didn't have to play credit card roulette. Uncle Ryan lost. He had to pay. But those guys, to me, not to be sentimental, all in different ways have helped me a lot. Like, there's no green light if I didn't meet those guys. And it's funny, this is the great thing about the Super Bowl. You meet all types of people. That's where I met Scott and Ryan, way back in, like, Tampa in, like, 2010 or whatever it was. And, you know, like, they started having me on their show. That helped me kind of get comfortable. But I just enjoyed, like, talking to them because they're cool guys. They're regular guys. And then, you know, Ryan having me on his show, my first year out, Steve being willing to come on the show so much, Scott letting him come on the show so much, Dan's helped us a lot. Like, that was really cool for me to get dinner with those guys because they really are on a week where we're looking up and we're saying, oh, green light's kind of taking off. You said that to me. Like, you could feel like there are people there's nothing more gratifying than meeting people that are like, I like your stuff. Like, when you went to Kansas City.
I was, I'm never surprised to hear that people have heard the show.
I am.
But when I hear people that are so willingly coming up to you and offering up like gushing compliments about the insight that you have on Monday, or guys from my work that I'll remain unnamed that say, I prep for my shows listening to your Monday show.
That's interesting.
Because your brother's so good at it.
Well, because you're good at it too. And so
he goes, I laugh at you, but your brother teaches.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is there's no us. There's no this show if it's not for those guys. And I think like they've paid it forward. And so I appreciate them. It was a great dinner, and I didn't have to pay a cent because Uncle Ryan lost.
What is
Look at the picked up check odds.
SVP, how tall is SVP?
He's 6'6".
Like
6'7".
He's a little bit taller than me.
And I think that geeks me out too, like seeing him in person, being like, holy shit. Because 9 times out of 10, anyone you see on TV, when you see them in real life, they're small. Like, I know I'm a big person, but they're they're smaller than what I would anticipate. Yeah. But meeting and seeing him, I'm just like, yo, he's a giant. He's like he's a big person.
Oh, this is good. Okay, so by the way, also played blackjack in the high limit room with Scott and them.
Chris.
And I don't know really how to play, which I don't really care. But here's the deal. 2 days earlier, Beau texted me, huh?
We could get really good at blackjack.
Yeah, it's just 21. So
no, it's analytics. It's just like punt or.
No, he doesn't understand.
So anyways.
You would love that game.
Beau hits.
No.
Okay. So Beau hits me up. Beau's like, hey, I'm over at the Aria. It's me and Kelsey. Come on. Like, I had like 2 hours one day. So I went over there. I walk into that blackjack table or wherever they have it, and it's Kelsey, Beau, it's Baker Mayfield, it's a boxer that I can't remember his name. There was a boxer there, a famous boxer, Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura. And the guys from Bussin were there, and they walked out. But I really just want to see my boy Jack. Shout out to Jack from Bussin.
Jack Mack.
I love Jack. And he's almost just too good looking, bro. Like, that mustache, he's like Tom Selleck of our generation. But we walk in this room, and it's like the who's who. Baker Mayfield's in there. I didn't have any chips. I don't play tables. Beau's like, I'm down bad, Chris. Like, I need help. I go, I'll win you some money. I'm kind of fucking around. Baker's like, here you go, Chris. Like, I was like, oh, thanks, Dad. He gave me some chips. So I go over.
I met him. He's a nice guy.
He's
this
great.
Week I met him.
I like Baker.
Really nice.
So I go over, and I'm at the table with Bert and a couple guys, and they're like, play one hand. I'm like, I'll put all of it on this hand. And Dad's like, Baker's like, and I get 14, right? And
that's a tough spot to be.
Not for me. I'm Dan Campbell.
What's showing? What's showing?
I don't look at what's showing.
Exactly. That's the issue.
I got it.
Like what he's playing again.
And I decide to hit because, like,
fuck it.
7.
Oh, but everyone
and so everybody goes nuts, and everybody's mad too at first.
And Chris is like, hit again.
Yeah, I too like to live dangerously. Like, it was a raucous. It was a big moment for me. People pat me on the back. It was kind of one of those slow motion moments. And then I take all the chips and I try to give them to Baker, and he's like, "No, bro." So then Funny Marco walks in. Who, if you know who Funny Marco is, he's like the funniest person on the internet to me. And I'm a huge fan of Funny Marco. So I start fanboying. I don't fanboy over people. I walked right to the front where Alicia, who's Ryan Clark's.
Did he Funny Marco you?
So I walk up.
Oh, no.
So I walk up, and I'm like, dude, you're the fucking GOAT, bro. And he daps me up, and he goes, what the fuck are you, like Max Crosby's uncle? and I said, I was just like, man, this dude's funny. So we start talking for a minute or two, and
That's a good line.
he's like kind of in character, but not. Like, he's cool as shit. Long story short, he says he wants to come camping with us. He wants to come up to Virginia and come camping with us. He goes, will you take me camping? I'm like, yeah, no problem, with that face. And so I walk over, and I grab the chips that I won because I'm trying to give them away. I don't want to go to the cage and shit.
Time is money.
Time is money.
Holy
and I'm having a good time. I don't want to go to the cage. So I walk over and I'm like, here, take like $600, bro. And, I think he's going to turn it down. And he's like, yeah, no problem. Sure.
Bro, I don't think any black person is turning down free money, bro.
Yeah, right.
Bro,
Like,
I cashed
no
a
way.
$13 receipt. I
Little ticket?
I put $20. The only $20 I spent in Vegas, I put it in one of those like Keno machines.
Really?
Didn't know what it was. Mashed a couple buttons.
Did it work?
Couldn't figure out how to max bet.
Did it work?
I lost $6.50, and
He's a big Keno guy.
So you want to know what's funny? Like they had those slot machines set up at the media center. My ass walking through the media center the day after being hungover. I'm thinking I'm getting lucky, and someone left money in the machine, and I hit it, and I win. I think I win big money, and they had it set so everyone wins. It it had no money in it.
Well, that's like going to play
Freebridge.
poker with
Everybody
Dana
runs.
White. Dana White, supposedly, it's like easy to win with Dana White. They're like, hey,
scholarship.
yeah, it's like being on scholarship. I think Taylor won like $700K.
Something crazy.
And yeah,
He's grooming young gamblers.
So can
That all
is
seems
there
exciting.
Is there any way that he can take?
but I'd
us-
rather give my $600 to
us?
Funny Marco, huh?
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
I said, is there any way you can set up Dana White taking us so we
Yeah.
can win that much money?
I'll work on
I guess
it.
I got to fight in the UFC.
I'll work on it.
I got to be one of his guys.
Let's see.
And shout out to the sucker bets.
Then you can gamble for free.
Yeah.
Shout out to the sucker bets on 21 because I left Vegas up this trip, and it's because of the sucker bets on 21. I played free bet 21, and on those, a 22. If the dealer hits a 22,
Of course.
it's usually a loss, but it's a push. So, so that game you can bet on.
This is just semantics.
Yeah, dude,
You can
see-
bet on if the dealer's gonna hit 22 or not on the side bet, and I hit that.
You're talking to a guy who went to the high limit room. You saw this.
It said safe.
After winning what I won, played two hands with Uncle Ryan's money, and they hand me a 6 and an ace, and I go,
Safe.
I go, I'm safe.
No.
I like to be
He
safe.
goes like this with two hands.
yeah, whatever it is.
And SVP, that
We need to play
SVP was
ball.
very upset about his gambling that night, but that tickled him so.
Yeah, because
much.
SVP was taking a bath. They said Jay-Z was in there playing
And
before
21
us.
Savage.
And 21 said 21.
I love 21.
I love 21 Savage. Also, one more thing from the game last night. I want to talk about this. This should have been maybe our biggest moment. So, like, you saw James Brown. You give the backstory on this, like, last week. And he said, I heard your
In the
brother
pregame.
use this term.
Yeah, JB called me, Uncle JB. He used to work with Dad at Fox for a very long time. We were just jits when we
Yeah.
got to know JB.
Yeah.
He calls me. I'm lucky enough to have him in my phone book. He calls me the other day, and he's like,
He's lucky. Yeah.
He's like, young Kyle, I'm in the barber shop. Excuse me for being a bit animated. Him and the guys were
Yeah.
chopping it up.
He looks great, by
And
the
he's
way.
like, and I'm talking to some of these haters in here, and they're talking about this Brock Purdy character. And, we were listening to the Green Light podcast, and I got to hear your brother describe him as, what was the phrase he used? And I said, game executive. That's exactly he's like, how he talks. And he goes, I just love that, Kyle. And I was thinking about using it on the pregame. He's like, you got to get permission from your brother here. I don't
Yeah.
want to be stealing any of his thunder.
No, it was fine. It was like going into commercial. He was like, and Howie Long's son, also Chris Long, said game executive, and I was like, all right,
That's a solid.
that'll help the podcast somehow.
It's a solid.
And then at the end of the game, they're going to commercial, and he's like, Brock Purdy is no longer a game executive, and I'm like,
I didn't hear that part.
I'm like, oh, now we're just, and here's the crazy part. And I want to say this, like, I'm not sure how it went. There was one day where me and Macon were sitting here, and we both had one job. I think my job was to be like, let's rebrand game manager, and he said game executive. So this is Macon's term. Either that or it was.
Uh-oh.
There's no uh-oh.
No, this is.
He is just the worst, isn't he, with this stuff?
I'm saying uh-oh for them.
Oh, no.
for the people using the term.
No, I mean,
ahead,
not
go
really.
ahead.
Not really. Oh, yeah, because they're using Macon's term?
Yes.
They don't know it? So, like, and I haven't heard anything from Macon yet. I'm sure he'd be all over my IP, his IP. But one of the two of us came up with the term, and I'm not sure it was me. One of the two of us said we need to rebrand this thing. So it was a group effort. I want to give Macon some credit here.
Macon plays.
Macon made the Super Bowl. Now, it wasn't credited to Green Light. It was credited to Howie Long's son. Dad texted me this morning.
He did say green light.
No, he didn't.
He did.
No, he did?
Yeah.
He said, no. No.
He said Howie Long's son, Chris Long.
Yeah. So Dad texted me this morning,
Indirectly.
and he's like, "Did you hear you got a shout out on the pregame?" I was like, "Yeah, Dad. So did you." It was cool. He's like, "Sorry." I'm like, "I'm not saying it's your fault, but like, you know, it's just all roads lead back to Howie Long."
It's like I saw one of my colleagues last week who's on the big, I'm on Tops, and then there's the big show, NFL Today, and I saw them walking. I saw the whole crew walking out, and Coach, Phil, Boom, all those guys, they know me first name, and they know Dad as well, but one of the sideline reporters, one of the main ones, she will remain unnamed, walks up and goes, "Chris," and I said, "Sorry, that's my brother," and she goes, "Jake." This brother thing really throws me off.
Yeah, that's funny. And you were like, "Nice meeting
And
you."
Jay Feely was behind her, who knows me extremely
Yeah.
well, and he's just like,
By the way, Jay Feely tried to jinx Butker so bad.
he did.
Oh my God, he was like, he's basically the best kicker of all time from this distance.
And Tony was like,
Oh no, Jay!
Don't do it.
I saw Tony Romo playing blackjack at like 2 a.m. too. By the way, we saw some more people. We saw Antonio Pierce, got to catch up with AP for a little bit. Funny thing is, I told you I had beers with him when I was a young player. I also had a couple beers with him late at night 1 year ago at the Super Bowl. It's just so funny to think about. A year ago that was AP, and now he's like got the
Head
keys
coach.
to the car. And it's so refreshing talking to him because you can tell he just has no ego. Like that's he knows who he is and he knows what his profile can do, but he also has no ego. And like talking about him learning on the fly and all that stuff, like he was very open about it. And I think he's great. Also, we saw Flavor Flav walking through the Radio Row.
Flav. Oh yeah,
I met Mark Davis. Yeah.
I got a picture with Mark Phillips, comedian, RDC. They have like you recognize him from doing the skits. He does the funny like LeBron after game skits.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. His name is Mark Phillips.
You got to show me how to follow him.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Like
I saw.
Seen Justina Anderson. I don't know if you guys
Justina's great.
Watching like Wildin' Out. She's great.
Oh, I thought you were mispronouncing Josina Anderson's name. And there was this moment where me and her kind of had like beef because she was trying to like drive a wedge in our locker room.
Okay.
And so like you kept saying Justina Anderson, and I was like, like
no, damn, I'm saying her name wrong. I'm mixing it up. My bad. Justina Valentine.
Okay.
That is the girl.
Valentine Anderson.
Yes.
I met Kate Abdo.
No way.
You know who that is?
Sky Sports.
Met Kate Abdo.
Cool.
And I met.
Me and all my colleagues were like, awesome.
That's Kate Abdo.
I know Chris. I wonder if Kyle.
In person, it's like intimidating.
Yeah. Yeah, I could
You know, they have the picture where they're like, this is what people are going to look like in the year 3100.
Yep.
It's just like a future, just like a beautiful person from the future.
Yeah, I can't tell if it's a
Avatar.
minefield because we're going to say that Kate Abdo's hot and our wives are listening or something.
No, Kate, my wife and I had this conversation. We
about
were
Kate
actually
Abdo.
like trying to figure out like how somebody ends up just being able to like wake up and looking like that.
Yes. Yeah.
You were asking me about cool people.
Yes,
like
that was cool. That was cool.
And she was a CBS host for us for the premiership. So she was there with Thierry Henry and Micah, and they were all class.
It's
all
just
class.
bro, when you get
Henry
when
rode
you
on
get
the Concorde 3 times. Did you know that?
Did he really?
That's like
He's
we're
a
at-
survivor.
I was asking him. I was like, "How long's the flight?" He's like, "Would have been way."
Was
better if
Henry
we were on."
cool?
He was like he's the vet in the back of the locker room that's chill.
Yeah.
But if you go and you dangle a conversational line in there,
He'll
I was like, "Who's the toughest guy you ever played against?" And 10 minutes later, I was like, he's a fucking awesome
That's cool, dude. That's so cool. It's a great experience around the world, like people from all over, media members from everywhere. It's really cool.
Super Bowl. It's the center of the fucking sport, not even the sports universe.
It's also
entertainment universe.
it's also the one place you can do a podcast in front of a Tacoma for Toyota, the official motor vehicle sponsor of the NFL, and I drive Toyota. So does Kyle. Okay. Thanks to Toyota and the brand new Toyota Tacoma, we had an amazing time at the NFL Media Center in Las Vegas from the most badass set in all of Radio Row. We even had the all-new 2024 Toyota Tacoma on our set. David Njoku loved it so much he really did try to drive it off Radio Row. With its trail-dominating power, legendary capability, and captivating style, it caught everyone's eye. The all-new Toyota Tacoma dares you to come out and play. The all-new 2024 Toyota Tacoma is the most powerful Tacoma ever, Kyle. and it's time to make your off-roading dreams come true. The 2024 Toyota Tacoma, a truck that's tough on the trail and easy on the eyes. It sure is. Electrifying power, maximum torque. The all-new Toyota Tacoma is the most powerful Tacoma ever. All-new Trail Hunter grade is factory-developed overlanding rig, built from the ground up with the latest integrated off-road equipment from ARB, Old Man Emu, and Rigid. I'm telling you, Old Man Emu, they do it, bro. Seriously, I've got this stuff on my truck.
Dad's got a 1976 Toyota that has
Yeah.
an Old Man Emu suspension
sweet.
on it, and it rides like a dream.
Like a
So I'm
dream.
sure that the 2024 version is just even better.
We also have a shout out to Ted Karras, who won the Toyota Charity Challenge at Radio Row with his low score on the Toyota Challenge grid game and received a charity donation from Toyota. Much love, and thanks to Toyota Tacoma for again making the green light set the best at Radio Row. Today, Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL. Guys, it was clear to me. Toyota was catching, turning heads, catching eyes all week. Like, people want to drive this truck.
Yeah. Our
So-
setup was sweet, too.
Yeah, it was sweet. I can barely talk. Here's the thing. There's nothing better than leaving Vegas.
Oof.
As bad as you want to go to Vegas, the last night when you get in your room, and we did 2 4 a.m.s. We did like a 6 a.m. I was eating a grilled cheese at 5 a.m. one
Quick
night.
turnaround.
I'm watching Jimmy Houston on ESPN because I can't work the iPad that changes the channel. I'm just stuck on Jimmy Houston. Those are the moments in Vegas where you're like, we made it out alive. And so I was so thankful we got all our work in. We had a great time. We hit the club a couple nights. We got some good dinners. It was just a lot of fun. PFT commenter came with us to the club the last night.
Good guy.
Had a lot of fun with PFT. A lot of
Normal,
fun.
dude. Normal.
Just such a normal guy.
and
Relentlessly normal.
so smart.
Relentlessly smart. Okay.
Relentlessly smart.
Yeah.
Let-
So
Let's roll through our America's team.
Yeah. Let's
do
Starting
it,
in
America's
Kyle,
team.
Start
Kyle,
out.
run through
Kyle,
yours
start
Just
us
top
out.
to
1, 2,
bottom.
3, 4, 5. Number one, America's team is just the city of Las Vegas, the municipality of Las Vegas, from security to entertainment. You factor in the Super Bowl; it's the center of the universe. That place, the infrastructure was built for it. I don't like the Strip being all cars, 13 lanes of traffic. It should be more options for.
That's the place they could
walkable,
use it too.
Bikeable, whatever it is. But I think Las Vegas, that was the perfect setting.
underground tubes, casino to casino.
Tunnels.
Yes.
Talk to the people in New York.
Yeah.
Get some tunnels. Number two, strippers in Las Vegas. I did some stripper math. Tech Nine spent 20,000. Too Short spent 15,000, and those are like D-list. E-list.
That's true.
Yeah. So hear me out.
It's not that much.
Chamber of Commerce says that there was $215 million of revenue brought into the city in just food, drinks, and, in quotations, entertainment. I would have to imagine some educations would be paid for during Super Bowl week. Number three, NPC casinos. Chris, you ever played Red Dead Redemption?
No.
The second one? Well, here's the deal.
Didn't play the first
They've got these saloons you can go into, and sometimes you walk into a bugged saloon. And you walk in there, and there may be a dealer at a table
Yeah.
by himself, and he's got his cigar lit, and he's ready to do your bidding. I felt like that when I was at our hotel, the Virgin. Great spot, the old Hard Rock. They have dozens, if not hundreds, of tables of dealers standing there ready, and there's nobody in there gambling. So I'm just thinking, are these NPCs? Is this the first iteration of AI? Because you're not going to have all this overhead of having human beings on your staff if nobody's going to gamble.
Yeah. Why?
NPC
why not?
casinos, number three. Number four, Drake.
Why not, Kyle?
Massive, huge, just guys pulsating right now. Five, green light.
Wow.
Kind of like the Space
Brought-
Needle a little
you
bit.
brought that up a couple of times in this show for someone who did not see the picture.
I think what he's trying to say is you like Drake's dick.
Go ahead.
Is his hypothesis.
No, but he's saying that
he just
didn't-
had a
he didn't
kid the
see-
Can I
other
get
day.
through this?
How did you not see or watch the video?
Can I get through this?
You got it.
I have my finger on the pulse, Nate.
No, you got it, Nate.
you-
You got it, Nate.
I-
Whatever you say, Nate.
I have my finger on the pulse. Two hands?
Yeah.
Okay. Five. Green light. Pod was amazing all week, and I got back to the hotel room late every night, and I was up super early. I was eating at the 24 diner at the Virgin Hotel every morning, and I was catching up on all the socials. Aiden, Reed, Matt, Nolan, Fax. You guys are fucking rock stars. Everybody loves
Fuck, you took my first America's team. It was going to be a big thank you. I'm just joking.
And those are my America's team.
Damn.
And I got to get out of here soon because I have a pediatrician.
Yeah.
I'm driving.
We could let Kyle read his read his mentions right now and then get out of here, and then we can hit your
What do you
America's
think?
teams?
That's
mentions?
fine. What time you got to roll?
I have to pick them up at 3:15 at Cat.
Okay.
At the Cat.
Yeah, you need to leave. You need to go.
So let me read these. Best
Okay.
flight. Matt Ryan flew with the Thunderbirds this week. Very cool. Also got to hang out with Matt in the trailer out there behind the set. I've never really spent any time with him outside of working with him in the studio, and he is a class act, Matt Ryan. I wish I knew that a long time ago. He would have been at the top of my list for quarterbacks I rooted for. Worst flight, anybody leaving before noon today in Vegas. Bevel Conway, the city of Las Vegas, or Taylor not going on stage, both of which were very impressive. Anti-Bevel Conway, the wind on our set, outdoor set.
Oh.
We had a drone, and we also had a wire camera. The wind was so bad that the wire went from outside of our set, and it hit me in the throat
Oh my God.
during our rehearsal.
Could have been hurt.
Clothesline.
Could have. I could have been, pretty wealthy guy.
How'd Jay Feely do in the wind?
He was just short enough to where the wire missed him.
Okay.
Fly on the Wall, Ice Spice, Jason Kelsey intro. This is Ice, or this is Spice, or this is Ice Spice.
I think it's Ice Spice.
How do you intro? Or
think
is
you
she
go
like,
Ice
I'm
Spice.
Ice.
think you
I think she says, "Hi, I'm Spice."
Oh, yeah.
You're acting like Munch, Kyle.
Just a question. It's kind of like you see those diagrams of dogs with pants on. How does this dog going to wear pants? On his front, on his back, or like,
Yeah.
That's like, how do you intro yourself?
Yeah,
with your Ice
it's
Spice?
complicated.
Best seat, me and my wife with our newborn, watching the GOAT
Yeah.
win the Super Bowl. And I was smiling and laughing the whole time. I was giddy. I'm
Yeah.
a fan.
Yeah.
Then I say,
Then
worst seat, Dre Greenlaw in his small Japanese pickup truck. Which was comically small.
It was small. That's a small cart.
Hollow Man, the Niners staff and leadership for not knowing the overtime rules and conveying those rules to their players. St. Louis Memorial, Brett Veach
Yeah.
for constructing a dynasty. The Game Ball, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Dynasty. He's a shapeshifter. He can do the read option. He's a Sam site. He's clutch. And like we said earlier, and Travis said it last week, there's fountains and there's drains. And we know Travis is a big fountain, but there's no bigger fountain
This is a Drake thing?
that rains energy on his teammates than Patrick Mahomes. Nobody makes his team better than
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes.
No, he's the
In addition to being the
he's
best
like
player.
the Bellagio fountain.
And with that,
You're
the
going
2024 season.
now you can go be a dad.
Yes, thank you guys.
Love you, Kyle.
Finish up.
you.
Finish.
I'm gonna
Listen in the car.
Yeah.
Thanks, chat.
I don't think you can listen in the car, Kyle. The way this show works.
Be slow.
Okay, take care. Yeah, come on down, big guy. Come on down, big guy. This is good. Some product placement. Little Caesar's jumpsuit. All right, so here's the deal. I got to get through my mentions, and then we're gonna get out of here. Nate's wow.
He does that everywhere. Germaphobe.
He really did just disinfect the.
He does.
Yeah, but he'll share a blunt with anybody.
No, that's not true. I stopped that.
So you do it with me.
I've stopped that.
You share them with me all the time.
I've stopped that.
You stop sharing blunts with everybody.
Yo, if you guys haven't realized in a while, like I have not been passing the blunt.
You know, post-pandemic, I think it's perfectly okay to be like,
Rudy
no.
Gobert, yo.
It is okay to be not.
Rudy
It's a big thing to
Gobert.
ask.
Man, I told multiple people no during the pandy. You know, strangers at like the Hollywood Bowl and shit like that. I'm like, no.
I'll
dude.
usually just give him the whole thing and then walk away.
That's Chris's thing.
I'll make something up.
Chris's thing is the smoke. Like he'll be like, yeah, we can, and then like he'll smoke the first half, and then he'll be like, yeah, here, and then when someone try to pass it back, like, nah, you keep.
Yeah, because that's the move. That's the move. Because I don't want, you know,
you don't want to make someone
especially in
feel
Vegas.
bad.
I don't know where you were last night. I don't know what's going on. All right, so
We got America's team.
I'm gonna go. Yeah, America's teams. Okay, the liberal elites, because obviously they just pulled off a huge caper. They rigged the game. It went perfectly according to plan. Joe Biden radioed down to Steve Wilkson. He's like, "Why don't you heat him up here?"
bro.
And then and
Who
then
sent that? Who sent that off?
what?
You see the tweet?
What? That it was rigged.
just like we planned.
Oh, it's funny as hell. And it's funny as hell because it's like trolling. You should really like that. Now there's just kind of a design flaw when it comes to like winning. You're not going to win over the people of Kansas City. Like Missouri's a red state. So like I don't know really what the strategy here is. If you're telling me that they're going to beat San Francisco in the Super Bowl, that's where all the liberals are. So now you turn the liberals against you because Joe Biden did it. It's like I don't know. I don't know what the. I just am going to really enjoy over the next 4 to 6 days, like reading about all the conspiracies. Yeah. We didn't get a Joe Biden endorsement from Taylor Swift during the game. I thought that was going to happen. I thought that was part of the script. So I guess I'll tip my cap to the liberal elites because they fixed this game.
Well, the big political conspiracy is since Biden didn't do an interview, maybe he's not going to run.
No, he's probably going to run. He probably just doesn't want to do a lot of interviews, which I also kind of. Okay, not to get political here. But anyways, the pilots that did the flyover. We got to meet all those guys. They were cool as hell. Even though we didn't need a flyover, we were indoors. I'm going to give an America's team to Spags. Spags, period. He's not going to get an MVP. That's Patrick Mahomes. But I got to say, I don't think they're there without that defense, and I don't think they're there without Spags. And I think it's incredible that guy was able to get so much out of this group with some of the injuries they had this year at different spots, with some of the, with some of the situations that the offense put them in throughout the season. So America's teams, I'll give it to just Spags. He's just one little guy from Boston, but he gets an America's team.
Mean Street.
I don't have a lot of America's teams. Let's get into, I'll give you another one. Usher and Alicia Keys.
Ooh. Amazing. Yo, shout out to Usher.
That was like high school for me.
You know what's crazy? Usher moonwalked on turf. Do you know how hard it is to moonwalk and then to be able to moonwalk on turf?
Can I say something, though? When he took his shirt off, I know it was supposed to be, like, uncomfortable for all the guys because all their girls are staring at Usher and his shirt's off and shit, but I don't think he's built any better than me. I know he's older, but, like, that didn't impress me.
No, so, like, watching the show and going back, I think him taking
Is that hate?
No, I think him taking off the shirt was part of the costume change because he put a shirt
the costume. It was like a NASCAR pit crew. Like,
and I think that was to hurry that process up. I think they had to figure out a way.
Yeah.
Hey, like let's work this out with no mess ups.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to rip it off last minute and put another shirt on. I think that was.
Well, I was encouraged. I was just like, I'm like 240. I look as good as
But you can't
Usher.
dance like that.
No.
You can't roller skate like that either.
Can't do what?
Roller skate.
No, I can't roller skate. I can't moonwalk. Can't do any of that.
That
shit.
was dope too because it's a how do you say it? It's a homage to Atlanta. And that's where he's from. Like, and they're big on the roller skate.
But the last couple halftime shows have been catering to our age group, which is great. You had the one with Dr. Dre and Eminem and all that shit.
And you know why? Shout out to Jay-Z. Jay-Z, he took over, and he's the he's the one that like leads and picks the halftime.
It's also nice because like, hey, they're marketing to us, and like then you go to commercial and they're like, here's Addison Rae for Nerd Ropes. I'm like, who the fuck is that? So it's nice to be like, oh, there's Little John. And by the way, it was almost like one of those memes with the guy walking with his girlfriend and she's disgusted because he's looking at somebody else. You know that meme?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The girlfriend is like Usher's abs, and like I'm the guy. And I'm actually looking at Little John because he looks fucking great. Yeah. Little John looks yoked, dude. He's never looked so in shape in his life. So everybody's looking at Usher and his abs, but Little John had some guns on him, bro. He's been in the lab.
And shout out to Swiss Beats too, because in Black Twitter right now they try to, like they always do, they try to make controversy because Usher was performing with like how about being close to Alicia Keys.
Close,
but Swiss Beats came out and
they were in a standing spoon. Yeah. I was thinking about Swiss Beats immediately.
It's performance, and Swiss Beats came out and he deaded everything, like put out a tweet and was just like, you guys are crazy. Like this was incredible.
You guys are crazy. I would never be jealous of Usher with his hands around my wife's hips.
No.
Smiling at her.
No, it was an incredible performance.
You're crazy.
I mean, hey, confident guys. Swizzy.
Reba McEntire.
Ooh,
crushed it and hit the over. So shout out to her. So I'm gonna go into. Can we do
a quick word from our friends at Miller Lite?
Miller Lite, because we're going to the Miller Lite moment. Shout out to Miller Lite for keeping our thirst quenched all season long and delivering us great moments all season long. Every football season, there's one thing that pairs well with every great moment: an ice cold Miller Lite. And even though the clock on the 2023 NFL season has run out, boy, that feels weird to say. You can't go wrong with a Miller Lite in your hand. It's the only light beer with a taste worthy of our national obsession. Because what's the point of having beer if it doesn't taste like, well, beer? It's got only 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12-ounce serving with a smooth taste and a clean finish. You can get the taste you crave without the calories. So this offseason, while we wait for another round of football, crack open a light beer that hits your taste buds so hard, Nate, you feel it in your heart. Get Miller Lite delivered right to your door. Visit MillerLite.com/greenlight. Okay, moments. Or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Lite Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Okay.
Nicely done.
Hollow Man. Hollow Man. I'm going to give it to Daryl Luter Jr. He's the guy who the punt hit him in the foot. And I tweeted this last night, but I'm wondering if Jesus would be willing to wash his foot.
I was just going to ask
Did you see
I was
that
just
whole
going to ask
commercial?
you if you washed anyone's feet.
No.
Damn, bro.
I can't believe they paid for Quentin Tarantino to make that
There's a
commercial.
Quentin Tarantino joke here, and I think the fly on the wall might be him at his Super Bowl party getting an erection during a Jesus commercial. Nothing less socially acceptable than that.
Yikes.
Well, I mean, seriously. All right. And some of the dogs in that commercial were rough looking.
You think the people at Feet Finder were punching their air?
Yeah, they were. All right. So I'm going to give the Hollow Man to the guy that muffed the punt because it sucks. It got hidden in the game a little bit. I don't think that's the first thing people are talking about because it's not like he muffed it, but it hit him in the leg. And I know they're yelling Peter and it's tough. And you were like, hey, it's not my boy's fault.
It's not, but as a casual fan and like the camera angles, it looked like it was just muffed.
Yes.
And then you see the return, then you're still trying to blame the returner. Oh, why didn't he tell him to get away? If you watch it, the returner's pointing, and every football player who's been on special teams knows when a returner's pointing like that, he's most likely yelling Peter, poison, whatever, the get away. And sometimes when you're engaged with another human
It's
being,
hard to get off and get out of the way.
to hear it, to understand, or when the Peter or poison, you don't know which way the ball is, so you don't know which way to go.
Yeah, they're not like
Take it
Peter. It's
anyway.
right behind you.
Exactly.
You know,
it took a favorable bounce for Kansas City, and that was unfortunate.
Change like a Drake.
Yeah.
All right. He did it, not me. Kyle, he was all
He
over it.
didn't see the picture or video.
Bevel Conway, I think the graphic when the teams finally scored touchdowns, it was like, whoa, in the end zone. They had that big casino-looking graphic. That I thought it was great. I thought it was beautiful. Also, when the sun went down, Vegas looks really good at night. And when the sun went down on the broadcast, all the cutaways, all the shots, they were gorgeous. And it was a reminder that there was a very big gambling overtone to this game, like during the game. And I was thinking about Vegas. Maybe Vegas is the Hollow Man because Kansas City winning, they took a little bit of a bath. I think they did. I didn't get to look and see where the tickets and the money were, but I feel like when I looked early in the week, it was Kansas City.
Yeah, their biggest single prop handle was Kelsey over yards as well. Which
Wow. Yeah, so Vegas might have had
I was feeling great about my under bet, which pushed.
And also, mine pushed too. I bought a point to 47 to get the over.
Yeah, same.
And I could not believe it, but at that point I was happy because the Chiefs won.
You know what my bevel was?
What?
Was Travis and Taylor having that moment at the end of the game,
Yeah.
and Travis chickened out. He got scared. He didn't go through with the proposal.
Do you think he was planning on proposing?
Yeah, I think the moment was too big. But it was the Bevel Conway of the cameras, of people being, it's actually gonna happen.
You were. I wasn't thinking that.
It's about to happen.
I wasn't thinking that.
And then a few awkward kisses later, it didn't happen.
All right. STL Memorial, I'm going to give it to Chenal. I think he played really well. Also, I'll give it to somebody outside the the stadium. It was the guy who's probably sitting in jail right now that climbed the sphere.
I hope.
It's like climbing the pyramids.
I hope that for
Seriously.
us, I hope
Or
he.
climbing the Mayan temples.
I hope he had a GoPro on and like this content will come out like later.
Oh, it's
He'll
gotta
make
be
some money.
incredible.
I really, really hope because
Gotta be incredible.
I can't mentally picture him, and he got to the top.
You got to the top.
Like that's fire.
It was incredible.
That's fire.
It's worth it. What are you in for?
And he's
in the sphere. How would that go?
And realistically,
yeah,
it's fire for him because he's the first one to do it. You know, there's going to be other people.
There's going to be other people.
If you climb stuff,
He
you
caused-
had to, as soon as they
caused
finish
100K in damage though, so that might be just by walking.
Are
on
they just
some of-
saying that?
No, they had to
Just-
fix it. I saw the video of them fixing lights where he was walking up there.
Oh, okay.
So, anyways,
Damn.
maybe not the best financial
Yeah,
decision.
definitely not.
Best and worst flight. Best flight, you got to give it to Flight 87. We said that would probably be the best flight. It's Kansas City Chiefs fans on that return flight from Vegas to Kansas City. Flight 87 for Travis Kelce. There was Flight 1989. That's what went out there is for Taylor Swift. But if you're on that flight, I can imagine those flights, if you're fans coming back from the Super Bowl, like there's just you and Chiefs fans on those flights. So that flight is like the best commercial flight you'll ever be on, or the worst, but they pulled it out. Worst flight, I got to give it to Nolan.
No doubter.
Oh, I didn't think we were gonna talk about this.
Well, they encouraged me to. I was like, coming in here, I was like, hey, I got a worse flight, but I'm looking for a different one. They were like, why? Are you doing the Nolan thing? And Nolan's like, just do it.
Oh man, this is so great because Nolan almost got you guys and gave you the story that it was because of motion sickness, and that was BS.
Total BS.
That stewardess, that flight attendant was coming around so rapidly asking people if they wanted refills or their drinks. And
This is on the team plane out. We chartered a flight inside the NFL and green light. So I didn't feel bad about it because we paid for at least half the flight. Okay? So this is my plane too. This is our plane too.
And Nolan, I remember at one point I drank 2 drinks and then I started getting hot and sweating a little bit. And I said, you know what? I'm going to ask for some water. I'm going to slow down. But what happens when you're
Don't
drunk?
tear a rotator cuff, pat yourself on the back.
But like what happens when you're drunk is when someone's offering you free drinks, you're just like inclined to be like, yeah, I'll take another one. And I took a break, and during this break, she came by probably 3 more times where I said no, and every time I said no, Nolan said yes.
Yeah, he's Dan Campbell.
He said
He was Dan Campbell in the McAllen.
He said yes,
And then
and everything was fine until the descent. And when the descent started happening,
but that would support motion sickness.
it definitely probably would, but it wouldn't support judgment making and not be able to find
He's
the
HR. He's HR.
the little latch to open up the bathroom door, which really
locked.
was the
So it's the fault of the plane.
It was ultimately the latch is so that the plane door doesn't fly open.
I know, but the latch shouldn't keep you from getting in on descent.
They locked the door in the descent.
There was this point in the flight where Nolan had to rush back there and get to the bathroom, and the funniest thing is like Ocho Cinco's sitting back there in his spot, like right by the bathroom, and he was like, it was kind of a bit that he was like, I wanted to fly Spirit. This is fucked up. Like he was complaining about a really nice private plane because like the internet wasn't fast enough, or maybe he liked his pretzels or whatever, and we didn't have them. So his flight ends with Nolan rushing back there trying to get into the bathroom and just painting the bathroom doors with vomit. And if it's not for Ocho Cinco being one of the greatest route runners of all time, I don't think he ducks out of the way.
oh my god.
And Nolan felt so bad because he was like, oh, I fucked up the plane. I fucked up our ride. This is a big ride. The inside. Nobody hates you. Nobody. It could have happened to any of us. Most times when something fucked up happens and you're embarrassed, you realize that most people aren't really mad at you or thinking about you. They're just thinking about it. They're glad it wasn't them.
Yeah.
And somebody on that plane had to puke. It was just, he just did it for us. And so, I would give worst flight to Nolan. When we got out at the tarmac, he was standing there like this.
Yeah.
Like his arms couldn't be more crossed. He was just like,
and then his bag went with the inside the NFL people.
And then he had to go
Aria.
back and get his bag. It's like the walk of shame. Like he had to go back after the walk of shame. So worst flag, I guess I'll give it to Nolan. All right. Best seat. I'm gonna go Beau at the Sphere. Like just to put our cards on the table here. Beau and I at that blackjack table, we're getting it in. And I knew that after that, him and Kelsey were going to the Sphere to watch U2. And I'm like, well, we better get our buzz on, right? Boys, I'm going back to the hotel, but y'all are going to see U2 at the Sphere, so let's get after it. You know what I'm saying? And Beau's getting after it. He's getting after it. And he walks to go to the Sphere, and I'm in my room, and I get a picture from Beau because he doesn't know who suite he's going to be in. And it's my parents. My parents are in the same suite as Beau, and Beau is on another planet. And I don't know how Kelsey's doing, but I just did not assume that they would be walking into the Sphere and sitting with my parents and Chris Rock and Adam Sandler and all these people. And then Beau, of all people, gets in a conversation immediately with the commissioner for like 30 minutes, evidently, him and the commissioner. It's like your worst nightmare with a solid buzz on. But I guess everybody was at U2 having a good time.
He got a picture with Roger, but took it on a disposable camera.
Jesus, this guy with his disposable camera. It was every moment.
Because he forgot
The
his
best
phone.
idea of the weekend. So whoever thought of that.
Somebody forgot theirs in the car one day, and guy gave it to me to bring it to you guys. I didn't bring it to you guys, so somebody's gonna develop that. I hope there's nothing bad on it. Worst seat, probably. I don't know if it's flyer on the wall or worst seat, but Roger Goodell during the game when it was very objectively and I love rock fights, but I like an outdoor rock fight, like in the elements. This was an indoor rock fight that was like very disjointed and sloppy for a while. Fumbles, drops, the whole thing. Roger's probably sitting up there in the suite with whoever he's with, which is probably a bunch of famous people, and it's not an exciting game. And I gotta feel like it's like when you have the aux cord and, like everybody knows you're picking the music and the shuffle comes on and it's just some dog shit and you're embarrassed, but you can't get to the aux. That's kind of how he felt up in the suite. And I think most of his night was terrible. And then he was bailed out by overtime and the tremendous finish. But I think it had to be from a business standpoint, like their worst nightmare for 45 minutes. It was like 10-0 for a long time. So the total pushing, that was not in the cards. Needed overtime and 2 scores.
I marked it up. I cashed it.
It's crazy.
How about your game ball?
Game ball. I'm going to give it to Chris Jones's agents.
Nice.
Getting the deal done. I know you were sitting up there and, it was like September and they're watching the Lions game. And they're up there and it looks like they've got this unified front where they're just not going to budge. But getting a deal done and for Chris Jones to come back, I really don't think this defense could be the best defense in the league without Chris Jones. And I don't think they win the Super Bowl if Chris Jones and this defense aren't what they were this year. So, I could give it to Patrick Mahomes. I'm just trying not to be boring. The guy's incredible. The guy's going to have an opportunity to cement himself as the greatest to ever play over the next 10 years. We'll see what happens. But I also think there's a greatest and best conversation.
Right.
Brady's the greatest. Until he wins as many or close to as many, he's not the greatest. But I'm pretty comfortable saying this version of Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback ever.
Right in the middle of his prime.
You're telling me a 28-year-old Brady, 27-year-old Mahomes, who's taking Brady? And no disrespect. He's my old teammate. He's the GOAT to me until Mahomes goes out and does it. But in this little snapshot of 3, 4, or 5 years, like Mahomes is what, 6 for 6 in conference championships? Like insane.
Aiden's gonna quit. Aiden's gonna quit.
I love Brady.
If you keep doing the Brady shit, Aiden's gonna quit.
He's a big Pats fan. I love Brady. Brady, hey, listen, I just said it. Brady's the greatest ever. Until Mahomes catches him and gets 6 Super Bowls with the same team or whatever, You know, I don't think he needs to get 7 to be. If he can get 6, 5, 6, then we can have the conversation. Because, you know, in basketball, you could be like, well, Bill Russell, you know, like you just do championships. But I think the best player
different. There was like 16 teams.
Totally different, you know. But I think the best quarterback ever in a snapshot is this Patrick Mahomes. It's like it's not unlike anything I've ever seen.
Hard to argue with.
And unlike anything we will see for a while. There's going to be guys who are going to pop in, who are going to compete with him. But I don't think we're going to see the same organizational structure and quarterback combination for quite a while. So just enjoy it while we can. And I don't know what happens next year, but again, like the depth of experience chasing a repeat, let alone a three-peat, it's going to be something fun to watch next year. And they're second in odds to win the Super Bowl behind San Francisco, who's plus 500.
Yeah.
Right now, Chiefs plus 750 next year. So
49ers still have that one more guaranteed season of a Purdy rookie deal, so they should still be stacked.
yeah, they're going to be stacked in the whole thing. But if we've learned anything this year, it's like that guy is the differentiator.
No doubt.
And, you know, I'm sure the Bears, and I mentioned this last night in my breakdown, and I don't think this is necessarily the truth because you've heard what I've said about finding another Patrick Mahomes. I don't think it's as easy as people try to make it sound. But they're watching this game and saying, oh, yeah, we need a guy like that. Like, and maybe if we think Caleb's that guy, like we, you know, because nothing proves it more than that Niners team, how good they are. I mean, like, roster spot, they're better than the Chiefs.
No doubt.
Chiefs have the QB, they got the coaches, and they got the juice. They know how to win these spots. So,
All right, Nate, what's your viral moment of the week?
So I had a viral moment planned out, but throwing a little audible. My viral moment of the week is going to Jason Kelce. There is a video of Travis and Taylor kissing what it looks like to be at the Wynn, and they're watching Marshmello DJ at the club. And then the video, it goes from panning from Taylor and Travis kissing, and they pan over to Jason, and he's next to Marshmello, and he has on like a Rey Mysterio.
oh, I saw that. I didn't even believe it was him.
Wrestling mask, and he is just partying.
Bro, he is partying his ass off. I did not know that was him.
And I think that's dope because it's cool that to see your brother like celebrating, like for you just as hard as you are for winning. And I think that's a dope situation.
They've been that way, you know, their whole careers. They've supported each other. And I can remember when Travis would show up to Eagles games in the middle of the season, like fly across the country to see his brother play when he could.
Like I feel like that's how it should be, you know?
And so I know, like, hey, there's a lot of people that hate Travis because of the Taylor Swift thing, you know, like if that's why you hate Travis.
Grow up.
You know, grow up. But
EAD.
But if you're mad at him for last night and you look at him bumping Andy Reid and that sort of thing, like, I think the Kelce's are good people, man. Like, they really are. Like, I'm not blowing smoke. I wouldn't have to take time to be like, hey, Travis is a good guy. He is a good dude. And Jason's just salt to the earth, man. Like, so it's so fun to see them out partying.
And what's really cool for me is that, like, all these guys are your friends, and I've met Jason a few times, but anytime we see him, the fact that, like, whenever he sees me, he lights up and he's like, "Facts, what's up?" Like, that makes me feel really good, and definitely a good dude. But happy to see him partying and living it up. Like, because what better feeling to be like your brother's just new back-to-back Super Bowl champs. Obviously, you want. Obviously,
Probably
you
that's
want
the better
to.
feeling.
For
that's the
sure.
only thing.
That's the only difference, for sure. But that has to be like close up there. Like, I still get to enjoy this with my brother, and obviously, if I'm not gonna win, like, it's cool that like my brother won it again.
Yeah, it's a real thing, man. All right, well, I don't know what the future holds for us. When's the next show?
Next show's
Wednesday. We're going to have a bunch of content coming out from Radio Row that we have recorded, maybe a few additional thoughts if we have some, and then come back Friday for our last 3 show per week episode, and then next week we're back to our normal schedule of Tuesday and Thursday.
Thank you, Dr. Matt.
And I would also love to hear about Little Caesars before we
let's do
leave.
it. A huge thank you to Little Caesars, man, the official pizza sponsor of the NFL, for being. We got the trucks, we got the pizza. What else do you need?
Nothing.
for being around us all football season. We ordered Little Caesars before watching the NFL slate each Sunday all season long, and they hooked us up with this sweet merch. As you can see, Dr. Fax had it, Kyle had it. You can get this merch too somewhere, I'm sure. Little Caesars had every kind of pizza we wanted, and we were able to hit up their in-store pizza portal pickup to get our fresh pizza and get it fast. Little Caesars, the official pizza sponsor of the NFL, knows football fans love a great game and a great deal. Pizza. Guys, with that, I got to get in an SUV, go up to Inside the NFL for the last show of the year. Like Matt said, we've got 3 shows this week. Next week, we'll go to a 2-show structure, 2 high shell. Keep everything in front of us.
Oh, yeah. Quick shout out to Justin Pugh for coming through. Make sure you guys DM him because I'm talking to him, gave him my address.
He wants a love sack.
Should have a love sack couch coming.
Yeah, we blessed Justin Pugh with a love sack, and then he's coming over to us during media, and he's trying to bless us with more love sacks. So,
I love the love.
If you give love, you get it back.
Love is love.
Love is love.
Huge thank you to Toyota, The Win, and Little Caesars for making our trip to Vegas possible.
And thank you to the fans. We don't get a lot of chances for us to like really talk into the camera and thank y'all, but I know we did it at the end of the season. The season's actually over now. You guys, it is such a grind getting all this work done. I mean, it's just a podcast and we're not out like fucking working on an oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico, but it's hard. And it's hard because we care what you think. Like, I can't do this job if I didn't care what y'all thought, even though sometimes I might disagree with y'all on the whole thing and we mix it up in the comments. But you guys have really been the engine that's kept us going. And this week, we could really see a lot of progress. I mean, I'm telling you, the Toyota thing was huge for us. And, getting to do that show in front of that truck, it was more than just money in our pockets. I mean, just the guests we're able to get, walking up to people, like I said, that say, hey, we love the show. We listen to the show. If it's not for you guys, these people don't get to see us, and I'm not doing this job every day. So thank you. I care what you think. Continue to feel like you're a part of this community. If you're a local that started in the beginning or you just joined on, we want to run this thing for decades. We want me and Dr. Fax, old and gray, talking about football. We can't do it without y'all. So thank you very much, and hope you had a great season enjoying football and that your team plays great next year. I hope you have a lot of hope, because that's what this time period is all about. We will be back Wednesday.